watching Nomad at night, starring the one and only Nomad.
Yo, No Maniacs. Welcome into the show. This is Nomad at Night. I'm your host, Nomad, with my boy over there next to me, the Canuck. Hey, man, listen, I got this new digital thermometer, man, and I'm going to look over here at it. And it's reading freezing like a MF. I know it's cold out here, but I don't know what the hell MF means. I'll check that out after the show, but it's really, really cold. I have no idea what MF means. I'll Google that after the show and figure out that. But in here watching the game, kids, just watch Mark Andrews pop the ball out while they're driving. Oh, man. It's some good playoff football going on right now. And we're going to get into the show and talk about some offseason activities, some transactions, and some roster construction and deconstruction that needs to go on with the Bears. We're going to do our best to do it now. But before we get all the way into it, let me pass it on to the Canuck for a little you got to have a word or two about that so we don't expect the unexpected.
Well, yeah. So we got a little bit premature. You know, we're still in the playoffs. Season isn't over. Some of the features that we normally would throw on to a franchise mode show like today aren't quite available. I'm sure they will be in the next couple of weeks. So check us again. We'll do this thing again down the road, fully featured. But for tonight, we're just gonna, we'll go through the regular things, have a little bit of the Bearsy conversation, and we'll start to take a look at the roster, the existing roster, and some of the free agents that may be out there, and have a little bit of a discussion about where we're headed. A, as Bears fans, and B, as far as the organization is concerned. What it do, Daryl Gibson? Might as well get right into all that. Give you guys a little bit of love. Thanks for coming through. Big shout outs to my guy, Black Diamond, who's been up in here early. Shout outs to you, my dude. Shout outs to FFG Style as per normal. Mo Fugra's out there. Aunt Mas, my guy. What's popping? Who else we got? It's a little premature, right? Oh, the good minister and Marco King are out there too. So as heads start, filtering through, we'll keep giving you guys love as we go. But yeah, man, we got some good football this weekend. I got caught up in an impromptu trip to Toronto and kind of missed out on most of yesterday. But needless to say, there's an APB out for a one Don Burr in Detroit. I heard he's lost on 8 Mile again. But maybe there'll be a Don Burr sighting today. Oh, there it is. Oh, here we go. Don Burr.
I know Don ain't in here, man. Ain't no way.
I know he ain't in here. But we'll see. We'll see if he shows up a little bit later on. I guarantee the ghost of Don Burr will be here. Don Burr 2.0 might show up. And Don Burr with 1 R or 2 R's may show up. So we'll see. We'll see what goes down later on. Maybe a Jahmyr Gibbs and a Brad Holmes might show up today. Who knows? Who knows what happens? But should be one heck of an episode because I guess we'll just put it like this because I ain't lying. Lying's gonna lie.
Hey, you know what? You know how many times I told Don, I was like, man, that team can be as good as it wants to be. But at the end of the day, you stuck with Jared Goff, and you at the mercy of playoff Jared Goff. At the end of the day, and he's man, and at the end of the day, look what happened, man. He's got a ceiling. Jared Goff has a ceiling, and ain't nothing else left to be said about it other than he's got a ceiling. And as good as that team is, he can't take them over the top. So I'm telling you, until Jared Goff is gone, not Jared Goff, Jared Off is gone. That team, I'm telling you, that team is done. You can stick a fork in it.
Well, I can't argue with any of that. It's funny because a lot of people, including you, a lot of people throw a lot of shade at Jared Goff. Jared Goff, he's a high draft pick quarterback. I give him a lot more respect than most other folks. But what I will say, he's good for an interception, at least one a game. He's good. He's good. You could time that with a stopwatch. It's gonna happen. And my boy Mike Samerstill just stepped up. And no matter talking, Mike Samerstill made a name for himself this weekend, I think, and that's going to go down in history as he continues on. But I guess the next thing to really talk about is not just how the Detroit Lions, but I guess we kind of have to talk about the upside here being Jaden Daniels and Washington Commanders. That's a whole other story.
That is a whole other story. I'm just still tripping off this 40 burger special they just put on Jared Goff and Detroit and Don Burr.
Who-wee.
40 burger, damn near 50 burger on their ass. Damn near 50 burger. Damn near 50 burger. I mean, it wasn't like okay, we won the game. No, they won that thing. Like they dogged them. And it wasn't even, I was like, holy crap, am I watching what I'm watching? Leading into the Jaden Daniels conversation. Let me tell y'all something. That cat, I know we ain't supposed to be talking about nobody else's quarterback, but I'm telling you right now, that cat is special. He is a one of one. And then that was just impressive. I've never seen anything like that from a rookie quarterback in my life, ever. I have never seen anything like that. He was special out there. You got to get a guy props where they deserve, man, because he's just lightning in a bottle out there, man. I mean, good Lord. I was watching that game in awe, but Lord, Don Burr was on the receiving end of that with that 40 burger, man. That was just pitiful.
Reasons why I was kind of not so much on the Aaron Glenn train, just to put that out there. But I'm gonna give Aaron Glenn his general universal pass. Everybody in Detroit is hurt as far as defensive football is concerned. So there is that. Really needed that defense to step up, and they didn't. They've been allowing a lot of points against, like they really have, man. So yeah, you did, Petty. You did say it, man. You did say it last week. I was actually like, hey, but remember what I said, though. I was like, if the Lions don't Lions, if they don't screw it up, which is exactly what I said. If they don't screw it up, hopefully they make it a little bit further. And that hope is now dead. And the reasons why I kind of said that is because of this. Oh man, they were up against Washington, and here we are looking at a 40 burger here right in front of us. And I'm I'd say I'm getting hungry, but right now I'm well fed. I'm just saying, hey.
Ralph Love wanted to know, is it true that Poles didn't even talk to Jaden Daniels? I believe he didn't.
I don't think so, man. I think Ryan Poles, you started early with me. I think Ryan Poles got put the blinders on, and it was quite literally what me and this man were talking about a couple hours back. But he put the blinders on, those Ryan Pace blinders, those same ones that Ryan Pace wore when he saw Mitch Trubisky's Toyota. But I think Ryan Poles put them blinders on, and he only had eyes for Caleb, and that's kind of how that thing went, man. And I don't really have a problem, sort of identifying and zeroing in on your prospect. I get it, but you gotta do your due diligence, man. You gotta test the waters and see what else is out there. And this is coming from a Libra. Libras spend too much time traditionally trying to figure out all angles. That's just kind of what Libras are about. And unfortunately, bet the farm Ryan Poles ain't no Libra, because he went, found this guy, thought it was his guy, zeroed in, and that's who he got, and he decided not to look at anybody else or consider anything else. But, you got to figure it all out, man. Got to figure it all out. Get your looks.
The truth about it is, there's a song by Jay-Z called Just Lost One. You just lost one. We did. We just lost.
I'm gonna say we lost 3, which is really where I'm going, because you know what I mean. It's not just the quarterback. It's the coach and the OC. All 3 of those guys, and this is why, that's why I was kind of like, I'm not pulling for the Lions, but I was kind of pulling for the Lions to beat them, because it's gonna look worse. It just looks worse week on week. If they turn around and they beat Philadelphia next week, man, and that young man goes to the Super Bowl, those are 3 heads that Ryan Poles and the McCaskey brass decided not to even really give a solid look. Don't look good, if you ask me.
I wouldn't listen, man. I don't like looking at the situation and thinking like, being pessimistic about anything, but I do believe what my eyes tell me. And I believed it when they were in the draft. I believed it then and I believe it now. I mean, this cat was the best pro-ready quarterback in the draft. Bo Nix second. And that proved to be true. And, as of right now, I mean, I ain't gonna say I'm not like your average Bears fan, and I'm like that person that looks at a game and watches a kid like that and has negative thoughts and feelings because we don't have them. I'm not built like that. I just rooted the cat on, and I was just like, hell yeah, get him. You know what I mean? He was just balling. But in retrospect, it's not let's take a victory lap, Nomad and Kedz and the Nomad Network. Let's run around here with your flag like everybody else fucking did, and be like, hey, we were right about everything we just said. We can take that victory lap. Hey, what about these people over here on this podcast? What about these people on that podcast that said this? Man, fuck all that. If you like listening and watching great football content from people that know what the hell they're talking about, that's why you're here. That's why you're here. All those people that do shit for clicks and just trying to be the most popular, the pretty girl on the block because they got this and that and going on. Fuck all that. We get it right over here. And so, it's not about whether it's not about being right or wrong, but facing reality as it is. This cat was better suited and better equipped to play football in the NFL right now. And we said that. And it wasn't hard. Like I said, it wasn't hard watching them kids, but man, it's like you can't help but think what could and should have been. You know what I mean? You just can't help it.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna agree with the homie Paul Rodriguez out there. Paul's giving us some good.
That's right, Paul. That's right.
He's giving us some good insight. I'm gonna start with his first one here, though. He said, "Fellas, proceed with caution when declaring players better or not better after a year." And I have to agree with that wholeheartedly. Maybe this is all premature. Maybe Caleb Williams becomes the next God knows whatever you want to compare him to and call. That's really what everybody hopes at the end of the day. I'm just saying that, in my opinion, I ain't proclaiming one guy better than the next. I'm just saying that there was one guy in charge of making that proclamation really and making the correct decisions, and he messed up on the coach, the OC, and the question is the verdict is still out on the quarterback. So I'm definitely gonna agree and say that the coach is definitely better than the coach we got. Why? He has a job and he's in the playoffs, and our coach is smoking cigars on a beach somewhere. The OC, yeah, definitely better than our OC 2 times in a row. Both Getsy and Waldron are again il disparu, as they would say in Quebec. That means they disappeared. Anyways,
check out Black Rain. Check out what Black Rain is saying. He says and I'm looking at his and Ethereal Sanders' comment. Black Rain says, I heard Sean King at say 670 hasn't brought him back to the station since he told them that they should have taken Jaden. That sounds about right. That sounds about right, because remember the dude that put on the Caleb Williams jersey in front of the world? That shit was just foul. Yeah, that shit was foul. I didn't like that. I had a fucked up graphic that I made on him, but I didn't do it just because I ain't want to fall into that foul ass category. But that makes sense. Sean King wouldn't be asked back there because they didn't want to hear anything about that. They had their minds and hearts set up in a way that they had it set up, and they didn't want to hear nothing else. Makes sense.
It does make sense. We're talking 670 again. They're the official Bears ting right now, right? They're really the Bears channel. Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Dave Kaplan and Jonathan Hood right now, because they've been giving the Bears a lot of guff this year, right? I have to give both of them a big shout out, as well as Sylvie's been giving the Bears brass a lot of guff too. Waddle generally does, but he's a former Bear at that, so he has a little bit of a different take on stuff. But Man, yeah, I could see them not bringing him back for the time being. But even then, I hear
That's sad if that's the reason, though, man. That's really, really biased coverage when you're supposed to be a neutron in the game. You know what I mean? And when you're giving coverage, there's a certain amount of reporters are supposed to do stuff with a certain amount of neutrality. You get that's what I've always, talking to Aldo, he talks that way, and you know what I mean. And I remember comments that he said to me about, being in that business and who was this and who was that. He didn't speak specifically about that, but I remember conversations being had. I'm not steeped in the reporters and writing game, but I know that you the bylaws say that you're supposed to approach it with some kind of neutrality, right?
yeah.
So it's not 670 to score Bears, it's 670 to score, right?
Nah, like I'm gonna chagrin a little bit because like once you're the official business partner of the organization, you're expected to kind of toe the line a little bit, and I just have to be honest, the line isn't really being towed as well as it was with the previous regime at the other channels. So they're actually, same time. This version of the Chicago Bears have been pretty bad, so they kind of deserve what they get.
I just didn't like the whole spirit of it all, how it all played out, the disrespect when we had a quarterback in the building, no decisions was made as far as what his future was going to be, and that was just foul to me, man. And it struck me in a way that made me respond accordingly, and I felt like. Over here on this network, and unfortunately, you all came along for the ride with me, and somebody had to stand up for Justin Fields. Somebody had to, and the shit got out of hand. I was part of it, you know what I mean. But at the end of the day, it's like if you're gonna be a reporter, you're constantly asking this guy for time, his personal time. You're reporting on him, and you need him to sit down for interviews. And while he's still in the building, you're running out here doing that to him. That was just foul to me, man. It's like if Justin Fields would have called up 670 to score at that moment and say, "Hey, you guys still want to get an interview with me? I'll take an interview if you guys want to do it." They would have ran over there and been kissing his ass. At the same time, stabbing him like that when they went, they went live and went on their Caleb thing. That shit was foul. I don't give a shit what nobody says.
No. Can't argue, man. Can't argue. And somebody was asking, would Jaden have been more successful as opposed to Caleb?
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't know, man. I'm not sure what to say because, like, there's reasons why I believe he would be, but they aren't really the reasons everybody else is thinking of. And I'm just saying, I wouldn't, the difference between me and the guy next to me here is you would have picked Jaden at number one, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, that's the difference. I wouldn't. I would have traded back.
I mean, all right. So if you're asking me at that moment, I would have definitely. I went no further than 2 because I'm believing that whoever is taking number 1 is going there to get Caleb Williams, and I know I got Jaden Daniels at 2. And so I'm doing that. I'm having to do that with assurances. That's me.
Yeah, that's exactly my take, right? So I would have traded back to number 2, maybe not gotten quote unquote the haul, but definitely got a little bit more capital. And what's missing right now is that capital. That's what's missing. If we secured that extra capital, you can protect whoever your quarterback is, and that's all I was really trying to say. I wanted Justin to stick around. By way of, again, same type of trade scenario. But once it was decided, I was still interested in how they were going to protect whoever the young quarterback they decided to draft at the end of the day. And they just didn't. I don't know what happened. I need another wide receiver, and I have to go back to that because it's not only did you get another wide receiver, but you threw a 4th round pick at him when free agency was right. It was just a couple of weeks away. What were you even thinking? And then again, bypass the offensive line again in the 4th round. Like, just crazy stuff, bro. So I don't know, man. They provided the young kid zero protection, and here we are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was ugly, man. And, only reason we're having this conversation is because it's clear and obvious Jaden Daniels is really, really damn good. And, I'd be fake if we came on this podcast and acted like I didn't see what I just saw and we shouldn't speak about it because it's the Commanders and we don't have Jaden Daniels. We got Caleb Williams. No, I'm going to acknowledge that boy's greatness. That's what I'm going to do and respect that shit because I'm a football player at heart. I'm a Bears player. I'm a Bears fan as well. But, you got to respect. Respect is earned, and he's earned it. And so peace out to Jaden Daniels, man, having a bomb-ass rookie season. I think that's going to continue because I think he's just going to – his ceiling is going to get higher and higher, man. But here's the big thing in the Bears atmosphere right now that people want to talk about. Let me pull it up. Give me 1 second, kids. Hold on. I got to turn my mouse. Mouse went dead on me. Hold on. Let me roll up and find it because when I remember when I put this on here the first time, kids, and I think somebody got upset with me because it might have been my guy Petty. He might have got mad at me for doing it, but I had to put it up here. I'm looking for the graphic right now. Excuse me. There it is. Oh. There it is. There it is, Petty. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. But I was trying to tell you, bro, that I've been reading and watching podcasts and following these beat reporters along with the national reporters and trying to get as close as I can to the situation as best as I could. And all of the tea leaves read. I mean, people that are literally in contact with like Mark Davis and talk to him made friends with him. There's a guy out there on the Raiders beat. He's probably in the 70s right now. Late 70s, mid to late 70s, that is, really tied in with Mark Davis. I mean, like a close friend of his. He's not only a reporter, but he became close friends with Mark Davis before he became the owner. Well, his dad was still alive.
Hopefully they don't share a barber.
Right. Dumb and Dumber. So anyway, I knew this was going down before, I guess, most people in the Bears spectrum because I just was following it that close. And I believe that guy. When I listened to him talk and read his reports, you would believe it if you heard it, kid. So it's all but money in the bank right now. I think it's, water under the bridge now. Ben Johnson ain't coming here. Reasons why, we can talk about that.
Well, we'll see. Like I said last time around, my beef was really the whole Tom Brady angle and how everybody was spinning it like Tom Brady's some sort of football Svengali, and like he is with a ball in his hand. I'll give him that. He's a GOAT. But like we're talking about business and being a business partner for a football team. He just bought in the other day. He has no experience doing this. So I don't think Tom Brady, quote unquote, is really the impetus of all this. But I do, however, think dollars are, right? And that's where things get dicey.
Kids, if I told you, listening to that reporter, I wish I had his name right now because I would tell you. If you listen to that reporter, he's telling everybody that Tom Brady absolutely is a very central figure as to what persuaded Ben Johnson that this is the place for him to go.
Well, I lean towards greenbacks, the meanest, greenest stacks. That's where I lean towards if we're talking about dollars and cents. And I was well aware of how the Raiders made their moves during the last head coaching / GM cycle they were in. And what they did is they dropped their pants and gave their prospect exactly what he wanted. And what we've seen so far is we've seen them say, oh, we don't need this GM anymore, and kicked him to the curb. And now very likely, I'm sure, they've made some level of offer to Ben Johnson that's probably not going to be feasible for the Chicago Bears to meet. And I think that's what it really comes down to. Like Tom Brady or no Tom Brady, if they offered Ben Johnson $10 million plus, I will be shocked that the Chicago Bears would meet it and or beat it. Shocked. So that's the downside. Like that's where I'm coming from. I'm much less fussed with with whether Tom Brady's involved in any capacity. What makes sense to me is you can pay me 15 mil. They can't. I'm gonna sign with the guy who can pay me 15 mil.
Well, let me speak to Black Rain's comment. Black Rain 7920 says, "Is it true that Ben wants his own GM?" I got some reporting to give you to that exactly. And so, like I told you guys last week, it was obvious. It was a tell that not too long before, right after they got rid of Pierce, it looked like Tom Telesco was going to be there. But then the reports start coming out more and more about Ben Johnson wanting his own guy. And, right after that, Tom Telesco appeared to be very safe. He just got the job. And they fired him abruptly fired him. And so here's the reporting I got from that older reporter gentleman that I was telling you guys about before. And so there's a report that, and this is on the books too. They just interviewed a guy by the name of Lance Newmark. He's the Commander's assistant GM. Spent 26. This is the key thing right here. Spent 26 years with Detroit, and it's close, very, very close to Ben Johnson. Also, Aaron Glenn at the same time. Very, very close to those guys. And what I'm trying to tell you is that's very likely Ben Johnson's guy. And so that's his setup all along. He wanted to come with the guy that he wanted to run the organization and know that he can trust somebody in the front office to do what he needed to do and get the kind of people that he needed inside the building to make him successful. That's the reports out of Vegas by that elder statesman reporter. And so believe what you want. But that guy's name, if you want to look him up, is Lance Newmark.
Well, like I said, there's that. And just like, I mentioned it previously. This is exactly the same formula that got the Raiders John Gruden last time around. Exorbitant offer, carte blanche on the GM. He brought over Mike Mayock. This is virtually the exact same thing, and these are things that the McCaskey crew just like they don't seem willing and or smart enough to do. The real downside about the willing part is, like, do they really have that kind of cash to woo the guy they want the most? Can they compete? So I'm not sure if they're really in the market to compete. And I'm gonna say bigger things. Now, I don't think George McCaskey even believes that he should be competitive, right? Because just from what he was saying was like, oh, like these guys, they just want to have the job. They just want the job. It's a privilege. Bruh, it's year 2024. We're moving into the 2025 season, and we're talking about your team, which has systematically flushed out and ruined the careers of multiple head coaches over the course of the last 20 years, basically under your purview. So I'm not sure, like, maybe this move, like this team is attractive by way of personnel, right? But I'm not so sure it's super attractive by way of job security.
I am so
neither is the Raiders, mind you. But
I've been saying this for months, kids, and I've been trying to tell people this over and over again about Ben Johnson. And I think a little bit of that showed up yesterday when they were playing the Commanders. It's not like he does like the bells and whistles, the reverse, double reverse that got him in trouble when he's got Jameson Williams throwing the ball down the field, when he shouldn't be calling that play at that particular time. That's questionable play calling decisions right there. But I don't think he's special at all as far as coaching goes. I really don't. When I think about it, it's not just the totality of the X's and O's as a play caller. I'm talking about as a man and being able to, you'll be all right for about 5 to 15 minutes. But once it sets in that you're there and you're the person they're supposed to respect, your word goes, you need to be the leader of men, and you need to be telling, grown ass millionaire 25 to 30-year-old guys what to do. You need to be able to do that effectively, and they need to be able to believe you. And I keep telling people, Ben Johnson, I don't see as that leader that you're going to need. I know people think that, a lot of people out there think, so, that leader of men thing is getting, a little bit out of hand. No, the hell, it can't get out of hand. You got to have that guy in the locker room or you will lose it, period. You got to have it. So I'm not in flux about Ben Johnson not coming here whatsoever. I think we can get better.
Sorry, folks. I was just about to announce that the Baltimore Ravens have tied this football game, and that's not what happened. So, not to mention, I had some money on Mark Andrews getting in the end zone, and he just didn't. I'm a little bit mad. So the leader of men thing with Ben Johnson, for the longest time, I was in full agreement with you, but here's the but, and the reality here is like this will be in question for his entire tenure as a head coach, regardless as to where he goes. What I am going to say is that I think all of us can agree that Dan Campbell is a leader of men, and this guy's basically sat behind Dan Campbell and learned from Dan Campbell in some capacity over the course of the last few years. So hopefully some of that is rubbed off on him. I don't know if it has. Proof is in the pudding. We're going to have to wait and see what that really looks like for Ben Johnson.
No, Leo Factor wants to know, Nomad, who do you think we sign as head coach? Any idea and why? I can tell you is my virtues, but I know people are gonna go right to the Mike McCarthy thing, and I can understand for a lot of different reasons why people feel like that, but that's not the guy that really gets my antennas up. My antennas go up when we start talking about leadership, guys that can bring that extra something to a football team, and if given the opportunity, guys like, a guy like you keep saying Thomas Brown, and I don't know if anybody understands why I feel that way about Thomas Brown, but I can see a certain je ne sais quoi about him that a lot of people can't tell. Also, I'll tell you who else is very, very impressive. And I know looking at that game last night, a lot of people are down on Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn is super duper impressive. I also like Todd Monken and what Todd Monken can bring to the table as far as he's probably one of the best coordinators in the business when it comes to being able to morph his scheme to the quarterback that he has. And so he was like if you really want to see what a Caleb Williams would want to look like, and I had to do this exercise, Leo, I had to do this on my own and spent probably the last 48 hours kind of looking at it. The best way to tell what Todd Monken is as a coordinator and what he would look like with Caleb in comparison is look at Stetson Bennett at Georgia when they were winning championships. Look at that style. And he morphed that scheme to fit Stetson Bennett. And Caleb is more like Stetson Bennett than he is Lamar, wouldn't you say, Kedz?
Yeah. He is
so you know where I'm going with that?
I do, and I like Monken as well, right? I warmed up to a couple of these names over the last little while, including David Shaw, to move it to another place. My top few folks here are I have no problems with the McCarthy idea at this point. I think the floor for McCarthy is the best part, right? If we're basically talking about like this team will be a playoff team to some degree over the course of the next few years, I can respect that. Beyond playoffs, great. But at least if we're getting to the playoffs, that means that we're watching some viable football, right? Some decent football. So I'm with McCarthy. I'm with your Todd Monken. I think offensively, you're right, man. He schemes well. He is definitely a leader, man. You know what I mean? There's no questions about that. He's a fiery guy, and I kind of like his fire and the way he handles pressers and things to that effect. Quite a bit different than what we've seen so far here in Chicago over the last little while too. So I appreciate that from Todd Monken. David Shaw is a really impressive resume. I don't know his level of leapership yet. I'm not sure what that looks like.
I should have mentioned that, man. That's my fault. Let me get this down, man, because
I'm sick of seeing Brady.
I apologize for that because I should have been mentioning him. David Shaw is also very, very impressive.
I like David Shaw, man. I just by way of resume, I really do. I like David Shaw's resume. He's he's been a head coach in the college ranks for quite some time. He's done all sorts of different things, and one of the things he's done is be a force to be reckoned with on both sides of the ball, and not a lot of head coaches can say that, right? Part of the issue that we've had over time has been, we got a guy on one side of the ball and he's hands off on the other side. I believe David Shaw has a good understanding of both sides of the ball. And in that respect, I think it brings a little bit of a different dynamic to him as a head coach. He can truly be a CEO in that capacity because he understands both sides. Like I say, he's grown on me over time. So's Monken. Right after that is basically Brady and Rivera. There you go, Dante Purify. They're the other two guys that I would have on my top five. I'm not as high on Brady as everybody else is, although I'm watching his team, and the Buffalo Bills are going to visit the Kansas City Chiefs right now. They just won the game. They just beat Lamar and the Ravens.
Andrews just dropped the 2-point conversion. It was just oh my God, that had to be sickening. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, bro, there goes my parlay right there. That literally ruined my parlay right there. I needed him in the end zone, and I would have won a little bit of cash. But what can you do? Looks like Josh Allen is going to see Patrick Mahomes, and they're going to have a shootout, and that's kind of cool on the AFC side. And let me just, since we're talking about stuff like that, let me just throw a little monkey wrench back into the arena we were in a minute ago, which was the Ben Johnson Arena. Ben Johnson's going to sign with the Raiders to go and sit in that division that has basically fielded the Super Bowl champion for the past, 3+ seasons, and go deal with Jim Harbaugh too.
But you know what's
Good luck, homeboy, and Bo Nix and Sean Payton. Man,
here's what's spooking people out, kids. I'll say what the devil in the room won't say. You know what I mean? And people will feel how they want to feel about it. But a lot of people felt like, okay, Ben Johnson is definitely going to want to come to Chicago. Why? It's because we have Caleb Williams. And truth being told, he got to watch Caleb Williams up close and personal twice. 2 times in a row. Just got to watch him twice. And I'm not saying that Caleb Williams is the reason why he did or he won't come here. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But I believe if Caleb Williams was the quarterback that they think he is, that people want to believe he is, I'm willing to bet that Ben Johnson would be breaking the door down trying to get in this building. Wouldn't you say so, Kid? I knowing what I know about coaches, I know that this league is a quarterback's league. And if you have the right quarterback, that's where that coach needs to be, because his legacy and prestige is going to go according to how good his quarterback is. His resume will be determined on how good his quarterback is. Period, point blank. He'll keep a job somewhere, but how good of a job and how much prestige he has, all will be determined on how good of a quarterback you have and how often you win. And so that's just the bottom line.
Yeah, so let's just weigh these two situations a little bit, right? So we're talking about, dumpster fire A versus dumpster fire B. So there's that. Then there is the strength of the division, and I have to say that the NFC North has done a fantastic job of leading the NFC this season, but the AFC division he's moving into, which I believe is West, they've been Super Bowl champs year on year, and he's also got, again, just the craziest coaches to go up against. It's very tough sledding where he's going if he goes the other way versus coming over here. Now, over here we have a quarterback, over there they don't. At the end of the day, you got to boil it all out, and it comes down to the age-old axiom: bullshit walks, money talks.
Uh-oh. My boy Don in the building. Is that the real Don Burr?
Oh, there he is.
Is that the real Don Burr?
There he is. I'm not sure if that's the real one.
Either, man.
It's all love. It's the real one. It's the real Don Burr, live and direct. I don't believe it. Well, Donnie, bud. Lions, bro. I'm sorry. I got
that can't be the real Don Burr. Don, tell me something that only me and you know that we talked about. That's how I believe it's you. Other than that, I ain't believing shit.
Damn right, it's me. Oh man, the Lions, Don. I'm sorry, bro. The downside for me is it makes our quarterback and our GM look foolish. Downside for you is y'all just got bumped out of the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? But at least you got to win in the postseason. You know, you're getting a little bit further on, man. I don't even know what to say. Dumber, eyes still puffy. The scrolls came with it. Right,
hey, Don, I've been waiting on you, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I've been trying to tell you since I've known you for the last couple of years now, man. I told you, man, you stuck with this guy, man. Jared Off is gonna damn you straight to hell every time. I be trying to tell you, man. Put a fork in that guy. Y'all need another quarterback to get to the next level. You cannot ascend with as good a team as y'all got with this motherfucker as your quarterback. Period. I'm trying to tell you. I've been trying to tell you. He's got a ceiling, and he reached it.
I was gonna send an APB out to be looking for you with a flashlight on 8 Mile, man. But it looks like you're all right, Don. So good to see you. Good to have you. Is what it is, bro. But yeah, Lions, man. What can you do?
Hey, dude, that wasn't just that wasn't no regular ass whooping, dude. That was an ass whooping by a rookie, bro. That was an ass whooping by a rookie, Don. I'm just sorry, man. 40 burger specials, man, at Don Burr's place, man, in Detroit by a rookie, bro. By a rookie. Can't forget that, man. Them 40 burger specials, man. That was just awful, bro. I mean, I would be like I don't know what I would do, but if I'm the owner of that team, I'm paying Jared Goff to I'm gonna pay him and just eat the money and get me a quarterback. I'm going to get Jalen Milroe in the draft and try to coach that dude up. I'm not going back into another game with this cat as the quarterback because I know what's gonna happen at the end. I know what's gonna happen.
So you think they should start handing hookers? Is that what you're trying to say?
Either yeah, they need to get that or get in the draft and move up and get Jalen Milroe or somebody that can be dynamic enough to get out the pocket. Because they was just like this. It was bad looking, bro.
That says Milroe's terrible. But yo, look, I'm hearing my guy Petty Murphy early in the chat was saying that Henry Hooker is probably on his way out to follow Ben Johnson out to Los Angeles. I'm gonna say something else though. I have a stranger feeling that Mac Jones will be the Raiders quarterback in the year 2025. So I'll make that prediction now.
Hey Don, I ran into one of your cousins. She was a Lions fan downtown too, man. I took a picture of her when I was down there.
Wow. Jeez, man. I don't even know what to say, Don. You don't know her. See, like I'm saying, Don, you guys keep handing Hook. I thought he was a good look for you guys, man. But I think man, your team's so hurt though, man. No Montgomery, that defense decimated. Jeez.
Oh man. Hey dog. Yeah, hey
bro.
man. Hey man, you need to they need to start giving away at the stadium, man, at that Ford Field, giving away some Noxzema, man. Y'all do something about y'all fans, man. You can't be having your fan walking around looking like with this pizza face like that. Look, is that a guy or a gal, man? I don't even know what this is, man. I really don't know.
I at some point I stopped trying to tell, but you know, as long as I ain't hitting on her, I'm doing good.
Ooh, good Lord. Good Lord. I didn't know what the hell it was. I call her a ma'am, sir, because I didn't know what to say. I said, how are you, ma'am, sir? I mean, I didn't know what to do. I saw them hands and I thought I was talking to a guy. Nah, man, y'all fans. I'm just saying though, bro. Yeah. dog. But all right, man. Let me get this out. I'm done with Don, man. I ain't gonna clown you. I ain't gonna clown you no more, Don, man. My fault, bro. My fault. All right, let me get that down. All right, you ready to get the party started, man? You ready to get this thing going? Because before you do that, let me set it up this way, Kedz. Before you do all that, now me and Kedz talked about this right before we finish out the plans to do the show, and I still think he's in agreement when I say this. This is my opinion. I hope Kedz can agree with this, but I think our free agency and not our free agency plan, but our off-season plan, in my opinion, should revolve around this cat right here. In my opinion, Myles Garrett. And all you have to do is really look at their salary cap situation, and you will understand that I'm not just blowing smoke right here. I think he's going to be gettable in the offseason. It's about who you're willing to give up in order to clear the space to sign a Myles Garrett. So let me read what it says here. In 2020, he signed a 5-year deal for $125 million. $1 million of that runs through 2026. His salary is $25 million per season as of right now. And so he's gotten all the guaranteed money. That's gone. All that's gone. So really, it's basically if we have a $25 million player or so, somebody in that neighborhood on the roster, Jalen Johnson, do we really need a 20-something million dollar Jalen Johnson when we have such a porous defensive line and we suck bad at getting pressure on the quarterback, which in turn makes the entire defense look bad. And so, in my opinion, to me, the offseason should circulate around Myles Garrett and seeing what you have to do to trade and get him in there.
So,
agree or disagree, Kedz?
Yeah, I'm not gonna be in disagreement with this as an idea because, quite frankly, I made this suggestion a while ago. The other side to this is all right. The other side of this is like either you shore up that offensive line or the defensive line in free agency. One of the two has to happen. Has to happen. I'm gonna repeat that, right? So if this is your linchpin where you're going to put your money to ensure that you have a pass rush, this will open up the entire defense, and away we go. We start with a viable defense. Problem being, the obvious problem, the offensive line still isn't sure. So it's either you go and you get this guy, or you go and you get a left tackle that most definitely knows what he's doing.
I have an answer for that, kids. I'm glad you mentioned that because that was my set. I got a plan for that. I'll show you once we get there exactly what we can do.
Okay.
I think that guy's in Minnesota currently, but
he might be. Yeah, okay.
The guy's he's actually on the thumbnail.
Okay. All right.
But you got any more comments about this before I take this graphic down? Because I think in my mind, with $80 million in cap, this should be what your all-season plan revolve around. Because how many times are you going to get a chance to get a guy like this, game changer like this?
Not very frequently. This man will instantly correct your pass rush issues, which instantly corrects the rest of your back end. Like part of the problem I had with what was done last season by way of the defensive line is they kind of got four guys that if you roll their salaries up together, it's not a far cry. It's not a far cry from what you would spend on this one guy who's actually effective and will get the job done. It's proven. He's proven he will do it. You know what I mean? So a few of those guys are in question and likely will be moving on into free agency anyhow this coming off season. So I'm interested in what they can do. They definitely need to take a major swing at one of the two, offensive line or defensive line, one of the other and or both.
The market, you have to do what the market dictates, right? So the market, let's just say it was a offensive tackle, just stud, lockdown offensive tackle off season. When you got multiple guys that might be available that are stud left tackles, you put them there and just forget about it. But the off season is not full of that. What happens to be in this offseason and out there is the idea that they might be willing to try. All you have to do is look at their salary cap situation, and you'll understand that Myles Garrett is probably going to come into play. You know, will he have some say-so over where he's traded at? That's another thing we could talk about. But if it's out there and, you know, people are picking up the phone and saying, hey, man, you guys, are you interested in trying to get some of that off your cap? We can help you. We might be interested in this guy. I'm telling you, he's gettable, bro. He's gettable. And you can also, not only can you get Myles Garrett, you can get a really solid left tackle with the money you have. And that's two answers to a quiz that we've been having for a couple of years here now that you can take care of in one fell swoop, right? In the off season. And you can really draft for the rest of it. You know, you can get your rookie center. You can get you a couple of guards in for lesser money in free agency as well. But you can also draft that. And so I think you can do both. I think you can get another stud edge rusher and get a nice solid left tackle and draft one right behind it. I think you can do all those things.
See, I don't know how we skin this cat. That's all I can really say, because at the end of the day,
somebody's got to go.
Well, that almost goes without saying. And strangely, I have a feeling they're not going to let anybody go. But we'll see.
We can't afford Jalen.
We can't afford who?
Jalen Johnson. We cannot.
Oh, you think wow, you want to get rid of the only Pro Bowl player on the team?
So think about this logically, kids. Think about this in this way. Can we afford a salary cap hit for a lockdown solid island corner, which is Jalen Johnson, or do you want to take that cap hit for a game changer in Myles Garrett in your front that can literally flip the field for you instantly? The more valuable player is by far Myles Garrett. And so if you're going to pay somebody $20 million, who would you rather pay? A corner or an edge rusher that can just really change a game for you? Because we're somewhere in the same neighborhood when we're talking about dollars and cents. Somewhere in the same neighborhood.
So, all right. So we're not, when you get to see it, you'll see what I mean. Jalen's not being paid anywhere near that. He's been paid. He'll be making about 13.
So Keenan's going to come off the. Keenan's also coming off the salary cap.
Keenan will come off the books. There's one guy that I think is the obvious look. Not to mention Jalen Johnson was just signed. The obvious look is Tremaine Edwards.
I thought okay. That's another one. He's going to be harder to trade than anybody else because he's a middle linebacker getting paid an enormous amount of money. That's hard to trade. You're gonna have to eat some of that money.
You're right. He's also kind of been shit in the bed for a few seasons, so there's that factor too, right? He's not like he's on an upward trajectory. He's definitely on a downward trajectory. So, he's the guy that I would be. He's the big money that I would be looking at shedding. I'm not sure what.
Mr. Charles, I think, was mentioning to me he was talking about Trey Hendrickson. I think that's who you was talking about, Minister Charles, right? And the difference how about this, man? Let me get Myles Garrett off the screen. Let's just take a look. Let's take a look at the available free agents coming up before we get into, doing our roster thing, kids. Let me get this stuff down off the screen. Give me a second. Let's look at that first before we get into our team. Let's let them feast their eyes on what's available and what it's going to cost out there. Let's look at that first. Sorry about that, Minister Charles. I got you. We just get carried away over here sometimes.
2025 free agents. So, look like a bunch of wide receivers right at the top. We've got Keenan Allen already on there. He hasn't even left the team, but he's there. I don't know what's happening right now. My screen's going crazy.
X off some of them damn ads.
I'm trying to, but I can't even click on it. It's so crazy.
So we can see what we can see. Stephon Diggs is out there. He's got an annual salary of $22 million. T. Higgins is out there. I don't think we need to look at either one of these two guys. Keenan is getting 20. Mari Cooper is going to be out there. I don't know that his market value is going to stay the same come this time next year. I mean, come this offseason. He's still in the playoffs right now, but I don't think his value is going to stay. What is he, a $20 million guy? I don't think it stays that way.
So it's cool. Like these market values are really interesting to look at because like let's just quickly look at Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's market value is at 16. That's likely what he's looking at over a 2-year. If you look at a guy like Stephon who just bust up his knee, he's quite a bit cheaper. Right? So Stephon is 13.5. And that's not so bad. Amari Cooper, I think he's just about the same. Right? Come on, Amari. Damn, this site flaky. There we go. 14.2, cheaper than Keenan Allen. And you're getting similar, you're going to get similar production. And in a couple of these cases, a younger guy. Like Keenan's pushing almost 33 years old now. Chris Godwin, that's a good look. What's Chris Godwin looking at? Market value.
A guy that would help solidify some shit. I see a name on there is Zach Martin. Would definitely help some shit going on here. And what would he cost?
Let's find out. So right now he's pushing 19. Zach Martin is, holy crap. Zach Martin's 34. They don't even list his market value because he's so old.
And he's a guard, I believe, right?
He is a guard, 34 years old, pushing 35. I'm going to say his market value probably drop a little bit.
Oh, yeah, a lot of bit.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
He's played out. This is his last big contract. He's going to have to settle for anywhere between $5 and $8 million.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And it's just the age that has me worried, as it should have anybody else worried. But he's a solid guard, right? So is a Cam Robinson at left tackle, and I think this is the guy that we were both looking at over in Minnesota. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. That's the guy.
Yeah,
I'm looking at him or Alaric Jackson in LA, who's probably a little bit cheaper. But Cam Robinson would be perfect for the situation. That way you can pay a guy to come in there and lock it down, and you can draft one and start developing him to take that job after this. You say you give him 2 years, 3 years, possibility to get out in 3 years. You got time to really start developing that left tackle that you just drafted.
Wow. You can really develop Karan Amagaji behind him, and or even Braxton Jones behind him, because Braxton he's good at what he does. He just needs to be a little bit thicker and not be quite as susceptible to the bull rush. If he's able to overcome that and or learn, mentoring underneath a Cam Robinson, that would be a great move. That'd be a pretty solid situation. You keep him as a swing in the meantime, and those two guys develop. I think that makes a little bit of sense. So
okay, so let's check out a few more names while you let's roll through a few names. Let's put a pin in Cam Robinson for a minute.
Absolutely.
We got Deontay Johnson. We don't got Cam Robinson. Brandon Sheriff is long in the tooth too, but he's solid. Hassan Reddick is out there, edge rusher. Carlton Davis, corner. Matthew Judon, edge rusher. Charvarius Ward, I love him, but I know we can't. We really won't have to target a corner in off season. Let me see. Hold up. Joseph he's a solid guard. He's a solid guard with the Rams. He's solid.
I said he's a tackle. They're listing him here as a tackle. He
might be the right tackle, but I thought he was a guard. He might be. I might be wrong about that. DeMarcus Lawrence is a guy that I would, he's getting $13 million this year, but he's coming off of an injury where he's missed most of the season. So you can lowball him anywhere between $7 and $8 million, and he's going to have to take it. Nobody's giving him that amount of money next year.
So we straight up skipped over the other guy who, it's Khalil Mack, right?
Nah, it ain't gonna happen, kids.
I know it ain't gonna happen, but I'm just saying we skipped over him. So I want to put the words out there. At 33 years old, take a look at what Khalil Mack's market value is, coming off of a $100 plus $100+ million deal with the Chicago Bears and then some. He's only going to be billing about $7 million next year.
and I told you he's also talking about retiring. Like what is going to get him? What's going to get him off the couch and to his answering the phone from his agent? It's probably going to end up being Kansas City, Baltimore, or some team like that.
Yeah.
That's going to be like, you the one guy we need to take us over the top, right? He's not coming back to the Bears under these circumstances. Why would he waste a year of his life like that? You know, I just don't see it. Well, we got a $5 super chat. And it's got some cursing in it, so I can't put it up, Jason.
All right, you're gonna read it.
Go ahead, you can read it.
Okay, we all gonna poop. There you go. When it's Mike McCarthy and he builds a cold staff and Bears ball out more than I think about it. The more that I think about it, I'd be okay with Mike, if not Ben. So like, you know what, Jason Toy, I'm so
pooping on Mike over here. I don't think anybody's pooping on Mike McCarthy. I feel like we can do better, but I'm not saying Mike McCarthy isn't a good coach at all.
I'm not sure if there is better than Mike McCarthy in this given cycle. And the only reason I'm saying that is everybody else is kind of unproven. The vast majority of the little list I gave you, the only other guy who's semi-proven, my top 5 is Ron Rivera. And I would definitely go Mike McCarthy over Ron Rivera without a shadow of a doubt. And like I gotta say, it took me a few days. Like day one, when I heard he was one of the guys that they were gonna look at, I was so mad. Like no word of a lie. I was upset, I was angry. And then I kind of really thought about it. He has the pedigree, he has the cachet, been to the dance, done the darn thing, been to the playoffs on multiple occasions, more times than the Bears organizationally. Like it's these are crazy things to say about one person. So at the end of the day, I would not be mad. At first, I was angry at the idea, but at this point, I would not only not be mad, I think it would work.
First of all, Jason, thank you so much for the super chat, man. We really appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Number one. Number two, next time when you got one, just don't curse in it. I can just put it up. But I put a short out today for the last few days, man. Just so you guys don't know, the app we used to put out the shorts, it was down and you couldn't upload stuff from YouTube, and so the show that we did Wednesday on some extra sauce had some really good stuff in it. And I put one out before this show, and it was Trips talking about Mike McCarthy and what have you done for me lately? It's like, dude, he is basically saying more or less that was a team that was supposed to win a Super Bowl over there in Dallas, and you couldn't get the job done over there. And that's kind of what he was saying in that short. In case you guys haven't seen that, go check that short out. I just put that out not too long ago. But that's a great point, man. It's like he had a couple, 2-3 years in a row when he went 12-5. I think it's a couple years in a row, and got one and done in the playoffs every time. You know what I mean? So it's like you had everything. Now, the only I would give one little caveat to that. I don't know that Dak Prescott is everything that you need as a quarterback to get you over the top. I've seen that guy win a couple of playoff games, and I've seen him lose far too many more. You know what I mean? In crucial moments, throwing that ball away, dropping it, and different stuff like that. He has really let the team down most of the time. So I don't know if I want to attach all of the failures of the Dallas Cowboys to Mike McCarthy himself, but I can definitely understand what the hell Trish was talking about there. Why didn't you get the job done? Y'all had the team.
Well, I'm with both of you on this, but the thing that really got me over with Mike McCarthy is the floor, right? If we're looking at quarterbacks, we're like, oh, his ceiling is floor, right? Same thing with Mike McCarthy as a head coach, and the floor is basically playoffs, and I'm cool. I'm good with that. You know what I'm saying? Like he is a perennially. My guy makes it to the playoffs. If they lose one and done, that's a hell of a lot better than these 3 and 4 win seasons we've been floundering in these last couple of seasons. So I'm with it. I'm definitely with playoff football. If it doesn't mean we go to the Super Bowl, I'm with playoff football.
Pipeline Jay said he blames Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott.
Both of them equally. And Pipeline, you're probably bang on right, Pipeline. I wish I could argue with that.
McCarthy's a solid coach, man. He's a solid coach. You can't really take nothing away from him. But I watch his style over in Dallas, and there is really nothing that blows you away about his scheme. Is really not regimented to today's football. You know, I'd like to see what he would do with somebody like Caleb Williams that is a little more athletic than Dak and can move a little bit better. Maybe he adjusts and morphs to some of that Caleb can bring to the table. I don't know that Caleb's that RPO guy that's going to snatch the ball out and do Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels type stuff. I don't think he's that guy at all. But can you get a couple of plays out of him here and there? Yeah. He's got enough wheels on him to do that kind of stuff. Would Mike McCarthy morph his system and settings to fit some of that stuff that Caleb does well? It really looks like it did when he had Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers. It looks like it did then. It's just it looks outdated, man. It really does. His system does look dated.
Well, then you get a new school OC, right, to work with them. So there's ways to do this, and like I say, it wouldn't be. I would be remiss to say that his floor is not a lot higher than just about anybody else that we are talking about, right? Nobody else can say that they've been to the playoffs that many times. Nobody else is proven like that. Not even Ron Rivera. He's been there, but he ain't that kind of guy, you know? So I do like it pains me to say that. Like, I'm the guy who sits around here who's like, I don't want nothing to do with Packers retreads at all. Luke Getsy, your boy Jerome Ford, you're bigging up Jerome Ford. Was like, he's a Packer, not really interested. And he played very well. You know what I mean? Like, the list is much longer than this, right? But
let me welcome me Molly Mall, who just came in. He says he's a diehard Dallas fan. Mike wasn't the problem here in Dallas. He wasn't getting us over the hump. His time just is up here.
Yeah, well said, Molly. Well said, bro. Yeah, I'm assuming, bro. I'm sorry, my bad. And yeah, man, well said though. Like, that's how I look at it. It was an opportunity to re-up on a contract. Jerry decided to go left. He decided to go right. And, you know, that contract misnegotiation may wind up being the Bears' a Bears win. But it's also the other look of, like, there's other things to say about McCarthy, man. Like, we were headed off to down the free agency road here, and we'll still continue with that. But this is a man who's taken over this division and held it down. Remember that thing that Ryan Poles said? Take the North and never give it back. This guy's actually done that in real time. Like, he's done it. He's taken the North, didn't give it back when he left. The new guy came in and kind of kept it too. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is who we're talking about. So I've got, you know, as much as I hate the idea of a Packers retread, I think it would work.
All right, look, we got sidetracked answering a few questions over there. Let's keep rolling. We're looking at Joseph Noteboom, guard tackle, DeMarcus Lawrence. I would circle that name. DeAndre Hopkins, Ryan Kelly. We need line help. Might want to circle that name. DJ Reed, corner. Justin Reed, safety. Circle that name too. Josh Sweat, edge rusher. Let me see here. Justin Reed, another safety. Circle that name. BJ Hill is a D tackle. That's the name to circle too. DJ Jones is another. I think he's a tackle.
He's a D
Jones.
tackle.
Yeah. Sam Darnold, Mike Williams, Jonathan Jones, corner. James Daniels, super circle that name.
What? Really?
Yeah, hell yeah. Hell, man, James Daniels, that was a stupid ass move for them to let him go in the first place. Probably was our best offensive lineman. But, you know, whatever they did, why they did it, you know, maybe he has been nothing but solid in Pittsburgh. And in fact, since they haven't had him on the O-line lately, that team has suffered greatly. James Daniels is super solid. I've been watching him up close, kids. I do know what I'm talking about this time.
Oh, I'm not mad at it. I'm the same guy I've been saying that was Ryan Poles' first mistake. He walked in the door, made a mistake.
Was that Ryan Poles that let him go right away?
You know who it is. You know who it is. I'm just saying that's what I've been saying. I just don't, the way he wound up leaving, I'm not so sure he'd really want to come back here. And that's just,
let's put a pin in him. Let's keep rolling down. Byron Murphy's another name. Justin Corbett, guard at Carolina.
Austin Corbett. But
Corbett, my bad.
That would be a solid look too at guard, especially with the age we're talking about here. Oh, just give me a second. Okay. All right. So right.
James should have got paid here. Slick James Daniels definitely should have got paid here.
That we've been searching for a center / guard ever since. I don't know why we thought we were in a luxurious position to let go the one guard at the time that we actually drafted.
He was going to come in here and just reshape the line and turn it into this great offensive line, and he just absolutely
did. He ignored the hell out of it and it made it probably the worst offensive line in the league. That's what he did. He did reshape it. He screwed it all up. Man. Chase Young. You know what? I don't have market cap.
Circle that name too, because that's one of those guys. If you can't get the swing that trade for a Myles Garrett, you might want to look real hard at the Chase Young.
I don't at this point. I wouldn't really mind it. He's low wallet share, and you can then go and fix up. Really dump some more money in that. If we're talking about paying Chase Young Montez Sweat money, no. Chase Young at 8.5.
No. He's not gonna get that kind of money. No,
I'm just saying, but that's what we were talking about a year and a half ago.
That was
right?
A year.
I know. I'm saying now at these numbers, this is actually very doable, and I wouldn't be mad at that. Now you can focus on really paying to protect Caleb, man, paying to get the run game fixed up, right? So that's how I kind of look at it. I wouldn't be mad at that. Who else we got? Charles
Omenihu, nice edge rusher. He showed and flashed the other day. He's solid. He's in the lower tier, in the middle to lower tier of those edge rushers that might come off the board. Ronnie Stanley is a name that everybody wants to talk about. He's a little bit older, but he's another situation that if you're gonna immediately draft another tackle anyway. And so the book a veteran tackle that can get the damn job done, and it for the first couple of years while that guy's coming up, definitely a name. He almost ended up on the thumbnail. So it was between him, Larry Jackson, and Cam Robinson. I just put Cam Robinson on there. But
so this is what these are the things that I'm saying though. If you go and you pay money for that left tackle, Cam Robinson, we'll just say, if you pay the good money for him, you keep the two guys you have. You have depth at left tackle. You do. Then you don't necessarily have to go into the draft looking for a left tackle this season. You can go draft.
They got to draft a left tackle.
Hold on. You can draft your left tackle next season. You bought yourself a year, right? Because this guy will shore up your situation for the year. You bought yourself a year at the offensive line. In that specific position, you might, if you want to go and get a guard because you might, because Tevin might be going. I get it. You can be a little bit dynamic there. You can make some moves, but something has to be done on this line. And I think getting that left tackle linchpin really allows you to be a little bit more dynamic with the draft, man. It really does.
You know what, that draft is gonna so if they went and signed, so here's how I see it playing out. If they did sign Ronnie Stanley, if they did sign Cam Robinson, picked up an Larry Jackson or any one of those guys, they won't be so early to have to attack and get that first
That same position
off the board. They go edge rusher at that point.
Exactly.
Later, a pick or so later and get that left tackle. It's many of them in there, and I'm gonna put them on display for you guys as we get going. I'm just waiting on them to make a decision on the coach. I think that's about a week out from now. I think we'll have a decision on the coach, and then we can get full on into some of these players. And so, most people think they got about 5-6 names in their mind as to who they think the stud tackles are coming out in the draft. It's many, many more than the ones that you might think are the only ones. I mean, I hear stories about this draft is tackle week. That's some bullshit. I hear that every year about one position or the other. That's a bunch of bullshit. It's some really good stud ass left tackles in this draft and right tackles, by the way. So just wanted to put that out there, but we'll put them on display for you guys so you guys can get to see them.
Fair enough. I guess other guys to talk about. We can talk about Jerome Baker.
Marcus Davenport is always, but he's hurt right now. So, but
next.
Let's keep going. Tyron Smith, Jawan Johnson, tight end, Mike Hilton's corner.
Tyron Smith's 35, bro. Damn.
Yeah. I don't know how much he's got left in him. Darius Slayton, Marcus Epps, safety.
Kevin Zeitler. There's one to mark. Oh man, 35 years old as well.
Yeah, he's old as dirt. But if you need to plug and play and make something happen next year, you might not want to overlook. You might not want to overlook Kevin Zeitler.
From a depth perspective, at this kind of number, not crazy, but I think we'll wind up being okay at guard. I think it's odd to say stuff like that. I think we'll wind up being okay at guard. We will probably wind up picking up a guard in the draft too, at least one. That's my thoughts there, but we'll see.
That Foley, how you say that name from the DN from Houston?
Kaski.
Man, that dude right there, he is balling with Houston. You understand me? He would be an immediate upgrade to what we do down here, and he's not going to cost you a whole hell of a lot of money either. Morgan Moses, another name, veteran guy that you can plug and play right now. He gets a little nicked up, but absolutely solid at tackle. He can play left or right. It doesn't matter. Wherever you need him to play, as far as tackle goes, Morgan Moses, absolutely solid, bro. Absolutely solid. When he's healthy, I think he's one of the best tackles in the league.
He's getting up there in age, but again, at these numbers, it may be worth a shot. Here's a couple more tackles. Here we go. Oh man, like you just had to play for Cleveland. So Jedrick Wills,
that's another tackle. Great. He's on the nicked up side too, man. On the nicked up side too. If Pose goes cheap, Jedrick Wills won't be a bad pickup. But is that really what you want?
No, like you want to be sure. That's what you want. You want surefire, and it's tough, right? That's like this particular challenge is a tough challenge. It's gonna be tough to find that surefire left tackle because in the NFL, ain't nobody want to let go of their surefire left tackle. So what we've been seeing here so far is left tackles who are upper in age, right? We know they're surefire, but how long are they going to be surefire for, right? So the real upside to what we've been talking about at the tackle position is that we do happen to have two left tackles on the roster already.
And they dog shit.
Say what?
And they're dog shit.
Okay, hey, you're right. I'm not even going to argue with that, right? So Braxton and Karan, they're not good. But how do you get them better? You sit them down, you get them reps with a mentor, with somebody who actually knows what the F they're doing. So getting an older left tackle right now for a year, maybe two if the numbers make sense and they're not extremely old, might be in our best interest, right? Also, so it really just depends on who's out there.
Also,
Howard Jackson's another.
Alaric Jackson, yes, I talked about him, and he's young.
Yeah, 26.
26, Alaric Jackson. You got guys down there like Will Hernandez you can plug and play at guard right now. I mean, these are guys that can get you in a better position than you were last year. And I'm like Minister Charles, who said earlier in the chat, He said, we've been playing that plug and play thing for a long time. We need guys that's going to be here 3 to 5 years. And so here's the thing. Here's the thing about where we are, Minister Charles. Unfortunately, we don't have enough draft capital to take it to that extreme. Of course, we would love to be in that mindset and we can just get everything we need in the draft, and we don't have to really be reaching out here for in free agency and things like that and trades. But the truth is, we're poor, and we need to get better. We're trying to get rich, and the only way you can do that right now is you're going to have to go pay some guys under the circumstances. And because this line didn't turn out to be what we thought it was, we're going to have to pay some guys that we didn't plan on paying. So some of this salary cap, 20 million of it is going to go to this offensive line, maybe in freaking free agency. You know what I mean? It might have to go down that road, but we're still going to have to draft some of those guys.
That's it. That's 100%. It's really a question of capital. What do you have and what can you afford? They can afford to make, I'm going to say, 2 big splashes this offseason in free agency. And to do so, preferably, and this is where the Myles Garrett that we sort of started out the show with becomes questionable. Preferably, you want to keep capital in your jeans so you can spend it in the draft. So if we're trading for a Myles Garrett, we also lost somebody. Will he be that impactful? Yes, he will. But we're going to wind up losing a draft pick to do it. So in my opinion, you get a guy who's actually on this list here, this free agency list, and you put him into those positions to help us succeed. It's only going to be for 1 to 2 years, but over the course of those 2 years, you draft at both of those positions. So, for instance, again, we get a high-end defensive end and a high-end left tackle. They might be a little bit up in age, but we know they can get the job done, and we draft both of those positions in years one in 2025 and 2026. Now you've backfilled. We have depth. We have new guys who are going to take over those roles, and potentially we can cut the other 2 guys that we signed. Like, really.
Yeah.
They'll be okay.
Let's keep it rolling because let's keep it rolling. Nate Herbig, I think he's going to be the one that they end up signing. I think they got a choice between Nate Herbig. They got so much money spent on the defense. They got to make some choices. It's going to be Nate Herbig or they're going to pay James Daniels. I think James Daniels is going to be the one that doesn't get paid. Nate Herbig stays, but that's just my opinion.
You think Nate Herbig stays in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I think he does.
Okay.
I think they'll let James Daniels go.
Question, did they draft Nate Herbig?
I believe so.
Okay, then they'll probably keep him over JD.
Yep. Let me look at some of these other names on here.
Okorafor.
I'm not that familiar with him, to be honest with you. I can't lie about that.
Well, I don't watch no New England Patriots football on purpose, so there's that. I'm with you, but at this age and these numbers, definitely worth the conversation, if only for depth.
Yeah, let's keep it rolling. Let's see what else we got down here. That's pretty much it, ain't it?
No,
we got
a lot more, bro. We got a lot more.
We got to keep it. We got to roll in because we get.
What do we got down here? Clelin Ferrell, no interest. Morgan Fox, no interest.
All right, hold up. Let me see. Greg, let me see. I'm not seeing. Najee Harris is a conversation that a lot of I don't think he's the back that we're looking for.
I wouldn't pay money for him.
Najee, it's going to be, somebody's going to pay him.
I just don't think it should. I really, let me rephrase. I hope it ain't us. I hope we don't. But that's me. He definitely underplayed his draft position by far.
Daryl Taylor's down there. I think we ought to keep him.
We're not we can't.
I think we should. I think we should. I think you let him go. It's going to come down to, do you think Austin Booker is ready to put in those minutes?
No, it's going to come down to whether they spend money in free agency to find. So let's just look at what we're talking about, right? So Daryl Taylor, $3 million and change. I'm pretty sure if we keep scrolling down here, we're going to see your homeboy Martin too. I think they're both free agents. I'm looking, but I don't see it just now. I think they're both free agents. And if that's the case, then you let them both walk, you pool that money, and you spend it on one guy who can do the job.
Wow.
Right? I think that's the problem is we had 4 guys who were playing.
You gotta have depth, people. You gotta have people that play in depth. So you gotta have an arsenal, man. It's like I can see them making. It depends on who comes in here and what scheme. So it's harder for me to imagine what to do on the defense than it is to imagine what to do on the offense. But I can just, we can look at this stuff and see. Let's see, Peyton Turner, defensive end, Austin Hooper, tight end. Let me see. I'm looking at this.
Thompson getting old.
We don't need none of this shit here.
Josh Uche, he's all right. He's young.
And so, by the way, man, I would if you guys feel like it, No Maniacs, everybody that's watching the show and listening, I think it's a good idea to go look at Dallas's staff and understand what they do in Dallas on both sides of the ball, whoever their staff is on offense and defense. For sure, I know that they run a 4-3 on the defensive side of the ball. Talking about Mike McCarthy and his staff in Dallas. They run a 4-3. And a really, really impressive coach out there is I think Al Harris, I think is his name. He was a cornerback in Green Bay when McCarthy was a coach. He's really good with them dudes out there. Very, very impressive. And in fact, I think they gave him the assistant head coach title, like they kind of did Thomas Brown. Very impressive staff they got out there. And he brought in Mike Zimmer, who I would imagine would come along with him, to Chicago and hopefully keep the continuity of the system that we run, but just upgrade it and make it more aggressive. Mike Zimmer has consistently got it done over the years. He just got it. He's just gotten it done. Wherever he's been, it didn't look as good in Dallas because I think they just got hurt and didn't have enough bigs up front, and they got trounced in the middle. But Mike Zimmer has consistently just churned out great defenses year in and year out wherever he's gone. So I think if y'all want to really know what a Mike McCarthy would bring to the table, look at his damn staff. Y'all might be impressed. I love the offensive line coach too.
So things to talk about. So that's very interesting by looking at the other side of the ball and what Mike McCarthy might bring to the table. And again, those defenses in Dallas were very stout for the first couple of years, right? It's really just this year due to injury where things kind of went sideways.
It's Marley Marl. It's a 4-3. They just do a hybrid version of it, which I love. With the Joker position, right? That's really what it's really Mike and you got Michael Parsons type players like that and DeMarion Overshown. It's a lot of things that you can do that doesn't look traditional 4-3. They're definitely a 4-man front, but it looks more hybrid than it does 4-3. So I definitely get what you're saying, Molly.
Yeah. Somebody we got to talk about is Coleman Shelton. So I know the reviews are mixed. That's the best way I could say that. I'm gonna say the real.
It ain't mixed. Get his ass the hell on up out of here.
Really. So we can't afford to do that. We don't have any depth at that position worth talking about. So what I can say,
somebody get his ass the hell on, because if we in a situation where Coleman Shelton is the guy that ends up by way of some default that somebody gets hurt, we going down fucked up lane, and we're gonna crash at the corner of extra fucked up because he's that bad on all 22.
I wish I could argue with you, and I'm not sitting there saying that he's the second coming. What I am saying is there's no depth in that position. We cannot afford to bleed there, right? We can't afford that. That's a hit we can't really take, because then that sends us back into free agency looking for a center. And I don't know about you, I don't think I've seen any centers in free agency thus far. We might have talked about one.
Dude,
you know what I'm saying?
You can do better than that guy.
Well, then we need to draft a center. Is really what needs to be talked about. We should have done it last season. We didn't. We have Ricky Stromberg in depth, who's been hurt. So there's that. But I don't, especially at $3 million, I don't think we can even consider
he's
not
a
re-signing.
he's a turnstile. There's gonna be some better situations that come about than
But-
Coleman. Trust me when I tell you.
But where?
They're out there, man. We're not done looking at some of this stuff.
We'll keep going. We'll keep going. But like,
You may have to trade and get the stud center that you're looking for. But I believe that's why. And to Laz's point, I believe that's why the Ricky Stromberg, they grabbed him because of that. Because the center market isn't that solid. You know what I mean? It's not like hey, you know what? I see a center out there in free agency. He's coming up. I can go grab him, solidify my stuff. There's other centers, a little bit, above Coleman Shelton's level. And then there's guys that you have to trade for. And then there's opportunities like Ricky Stromberg. I love that situation for the Bears because if he gets all the way 100% healthy, we won't have to be talking about this shit no more. He's going to be solid. That's what I think of Ricky Stromberg.
Look, I think Ricky Stromberg, especially when he was coming out, I think his ceiling was extremely high. But injury has a way of kicking ceilings down. You know what I mean? So that's where Ricky is. If he can come back from injury and prove the theory, fantastic. We've got potentially an upgrade at the center position over a Coleman Shelton. But even then, just who's behind Ricky? You know what I mean? Our depth is a hurt practice squad player. And that's just crazy to talk about. So we need to have another guy. There has to be another guy. And if that's Coleman Shelton, so be it. Is he the second coming? Probably not, but he's definitely the best Band-Aid that we have on the team. And at $3 million, you got to keep him, man. Ryan, I hope you're listening, bro. But maybe there's somebody else out there. We'll see.
Keep, bro. Mason Rudolph, Cornelius Lucas, also solid,
super solid, but pushing that. Oh, at 2 at that under 3, maybe. Maybe
he's solid.
Daniel Brunskill.
Let me look. I'm not sure about him. I'll look into him a little bit more.
Mekhi Becton at some point was a great look.
They are going to extend him. He's not leaving there. If there's any chance that Mekhi Becton can come out of, he'll come out of Philadelphia. We'll be the ones that sign him.
Well,
they're definitely going to sign him.
Okay.
Mekhi Becton has been one of the better guards in the league since they kicked him inside when he left the Jets. Man, he is killing it out there. Excuse my language. YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me. We can kind of stroll through this, man. This is just really. Kelvin Beachum is another name, but I don't know if he's healthy or not.
There's 2 other targets that I think are sort of interesting.
We'll be here all
wide
day.
Receiver DJ Chark, I think, is going to be an interesting look at good wallet share. And I think AJ Dillon might be a good running back look as a power back. Just saying.
If he's healthy.
If he's healthy, right? We need a power back. We need a lot more.
That is interesting, though.
Yeah. Jerry Hughes at defensive end. Kelvin Beachum.
Solid. He's just older.
Yeah.
We're going to end up signing an older, unless we get lucky and somehow get one of these younger cats. We're going to end up with an older guy at tackle.
Wes Schweitzer. Same type of thing.
He's just a guy. You're down in the Cody Whitehair territory, so you know.
Yeah, that's exactly where we are. We've been there for a little bit too. Cooper Rush. If the guy winds up over here, might be your backup quarterback. Just saying.
Hey, listen, Molly Maul is making a great point because this is also, there's those cap casualties out there. He says y'all got to remember players still get cut because of the team's cap hits, and center might get cut. So you might see a name on the free agent list because said player isn't cut yet. That's true.
Bingo. Big time.
I should have mentioned that, but that's definitely cap casualties are going to happen like sooner rather than later, man. This is as soon as the season is over, you're going to see guys really starting to really trim the fat on their roster. And, it's going to be some unnecessarily cap casualties, and you can fall into a place like Marley Marl is saying and find yourself in an advantageous spot.
The Wayne Smoot is out there.
Go on, Smoot. He's all right, man. Linval Joseph, 36. He's getting too old for this shit. But I can see if McCarthy came here and brought Zimmer with him, that's a Zimmer guy, Linval Joseph.
Big time. And again, like he's 36 years old, Linval. Jeez. Dalton Risner at guard, Minnesota. Decent numbers, decent age. Here we go. Here's another Nick Harris. Here's another center, 26 years old, a little bit cheaper on the okay. I actually have to, sorry y'all, I have to actually look at this guy for a minute. Nick Harris.
Evan Brown is probably the more interesting guy. He was right under Nick Harris.
Is Evan Brown at is he a center?
He's a guard. I think he's one of those guards that swings.
So swing the tackle?
No, he swings inside.
Oh, left and right.
No, guard.
He's inside the center.
Guard, left, right. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. That's funny, Daryl Gibson. He says polls kept Whitehair when Daniels was a better player. To this day, that I didn't understand that logic. To this day.
I understand the logic. I actually understand exactly where his headspace was, but it was still a mistake. It was super stupid. It was the headspace was at the end of the year presser. Mark Potash asked, and like under normal pretenses, I love Mark Potash because he's just a feisty SOB out there asking tough questions most of the time when the media kind of ain't doing it.
Mark Potash, somebody pisses in his Cheerios every fucking morning.
You're probably right. It might be his wife.
And then it comes off like he's there to answer the tough question. Man, you motherfucker, you wake up and you argue at the sun because it came up. You pissed off because it's morning and you got to get up and life ain't treated you good. Somebody pissed in your Cheerios as soon as you got up. Mark Potash ain't no good guy.
I'm just saying a lot of softball questions come from everybody else. At least Potsy does shoot them tough questions. Now
I respect that, but it's always pessimism.
Well, somebody got to do it, right? Like it's not necessarily pessimism from Potash. Like you're gonna get pessimism from the other guy. We both know who I'm talking about. You'll get a tough question from Potsy, and I got to give him props for it. In this case, it was much more pessimism than a tough question. I'll agree with you here. And he gave a little bit of pessimism to James Daniels. And James Daniels, not only was he not having it, he overthought it. And it was really interesting to watch. And he was like, yo, look, I just finished university. I took public relations. I took media courses. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to paint me in a position where I say something stupid, and I'm not going to do that. And I'm like soft quoting here. And then he sort of got into the question and explained why Potsy was kind of trying to paint him into a corner with the question he was asking. And I was like, yo, you go, James. Like, this is actually way more like it was one of the most intelligent responses to a tough question that I've seen a player give, right? And he gave it, and unfortunately it rubbed everybody the wrong way because they were like, oh, like players are just sort of supposed to cave when you give them a tough question. You know what I mean? And everybody looked at it sideways, including Ryan Poles coming in the door. He definitely looked at that response sideways, thinking like, oh, this kid knows too much and might be lippy and flippant. We don't want that as part of the culture that I'm trying to build here in Chicago. I want to build a soft ass culture. So here we are.
Well, we'll leave this alone, man, because we got to get into actually looking at this roster. But one thing, like I do think, like sometimes people can be at their job so long that they just don't see any good and the shit that they have to do day to day, but yet and still you get up every day and you go do that shit. You know what I mean? And it doesn't make you happy, but you get up and go do it. My vibes with people like that is like, dude, if you're not happy with what you're doing, like same thing I say about Weeder, get your ass on somewhere. Get your ass on somewhere. I'm not saying Mark Potash is like Weeder. Weeder is just, I don't know what the fuck to say about him other than some real foul shit. And I'm not going to do that today, but Mark Potash, he's just at that point where it's just like, dog, I know it ain't nothing to really, really be proud of right now, but at the same time, does everything have to be such, godly, dude, it's really, I hate looking at the pressers because when motherfuckers like him get the mic and it's just like, I just want to turn the volume down. It's like, God, dude, I just don't live in that world where I get up and I'm feeling like that every day.
Like I said, it's either that or listening to softball stuff all day long, and I can't have that either, right? So a little bit of a happy balance would be nice, but in either case, we're definitely talking about guys who are a little bit more so on the negative side than anything else, and I hear where you're coming from. I don't. So the only guy that I did really notice here, just sort of scrolling through, was your guy Martin. So Jacob Martin's on this. Jacob Martin is on this list somewhere. There he is. He's not making a heck of a lot of money. Might be worth keeping from a depth perspective, but most of the guys, like basically Ryan Poles went out last season and signed folks for 1-year deals who played decently. Like they played decent, but they definitely did not get the job done. They were not any more effective at providing pressure from that other side than Yannick was the year before. And let's be real, Yannick was probably still more effective. So
I'll tell you what. Let's look at our roster, and let's see. I think we got to just start trimming the fat first, right? I think that's what we should do because what you're talking about, we're going to end up back there anyway, because we're going to bounce back to having to fill up the roster, and we have to look at some of those, lower tier guys and seeing how we can fill out this roster. But we got to trim the fat first. So that's what we're about to do, No Maniacs. We're about to go right to the roster and see exactly what we need to do. Look at dollars and cents, look down at the roster and see what we can do with and what we're going to have to do without. Let's just imagine Mike McCarthy's going to come and be the head coach, just for reference. And so we know that he's going to come and run a West Coast offense, right? And we know he's going to come in with a 4-3 hybrid style, so he doesn't have to come in with Zimmer and completely turn over the roster on the defensive line. And so we can maintain the direction we're going with the pieces that we have. We just have to make some decisions on who we want to keep and who we want to sign up or get rid of.
That's another bonus to him. It's a little bit of a side bonus to Mike McCarthy is that he has an entire staff out in Dallas that basically just lost their jobs. So, who are you bringing with you? Well, bringing all these guys. At least we know we have an idea who they are, and Zimmer's definitely there's the other guy who's got a lot of experience here in the NFC North too. Really interesting little conversation we're having secondarily by way of Mike McCarthy. But here's the roster. These are the guys that are here. This is what their numbers look like by way of cap, etc. It's a little bit interesting. There's only a few folks that should jump out to you by way of what they're making and whether we should consider moving away from them to fill the holes on this roster, right? So here's the first one, and everybody's going to say no. The first one is actually Montez Sweat. You would think it's probably anyone else, but
no coach is going to come in here and say we need to remove Montez Sweat.
Well, he's carrying the highest.
I know he didn't have the best year, kids. I know
had a terrible season.
And it's because we didn't have shit on the other side to stop getting double teams, and he got hurt. And so with that in context, I think we become creatures of the moment and say, okay, all of a sudden he's a bad player. No, Montez Sweat's a dog. He just needs help. He does. And so ain't no way in fucking hell I'm letting Montez Sweat go if I'm the coach. But we are doing the exercise together, and so we must consider everything, and that's what you think. You know,
it's not what I'm thinking. I think I'm conducting the exercise. You know what I'm saying? I'm conducting the exercise. So don't hate me out there. I'm just putting the obvious stuff out there, right? So Montez Sweat is basically potentially cap casualty number one. He's the first guy that you would think of because of, again, you know, we don't know. We don't know what his injury really has been this season, but he was clearly hurt. You know, if that's the case, is that going to bleed into next year? These are all things to really consider and think about. So I don't know. He is carrying a very heavy number, and he wasn't anywhere near this cap hit number by way of production this season. So.
Okay, so let's just pretend we're just gonna leave him be for now. And
we're gonna leave everybody be, but we're gonna do the math. We're gonna go through.
He costs, in case you guys can't see it, he's costing $21 million a year.
Cap hit is 25, dead cap 33, cash total 21. His free agent year is 2028. So really what that means is that there's a fair amount of there's a much heavier cap hit in dead cap if you were to trade him or get rid of him between now and 2028. In 2028, the dead cap becomes much smaller, and it's feasible that you can make it out of feasible that you can actually make a trade. So because his is pushed down to 2028, I would not suggest actually trading him. DJ Moore, similar if not worse. His cap numbers just underneath Montez, 24.9, 36 dead cap, cash total to 20 million, and his free agent year is 2030. So, you know, I did bring up the other day that maybe a DJ Moore trade might be in the forecast, and why I did is just because of dollars and cents, and very simply, I'm not so sure that the chemistry between him and Caleb is in the place where it should be. Does that have something to do with just Keenan Allen's presence on the squad? That was my initial feeling. So I don't know what you do with the DJ Moore. Maybe you just keep him and you try to work this thing through because you're not signing Keenan Allen.
In the grand scheme of things, when you're trying to keep and make your roster better. And in totality, you look at all these guys, like the major players on this roster, like your Montez Sweat, your DJ Moores, your Jalen Johnsons, and Tremaine Edmonds, Cole Kmet's, those guys on the roster that get nice amounts of money, right? And you say, no way you should trade any of them. Why would you even consider trading any of them? Now, there's players on this roster that I don't think we can afford to let go of. And if we do, then immediately we got weaker. And couple of those guys would be Montez Sweat, DJ Moore, and those are two of the main guys that ain't no way I'm trading, no matter what. Now, Jalen Johnson, because we have depth at corner and we drafted well at corner, I'm considering that strongly. And Cole Kmet, because I know that we can draft a tight end in the draft and give Cole Kmet type a performance and Cole Kmet type of production. One thing about Cole Kmet that you can't really duplicate, and you only hoping is, as far as your next guy you're getting, is you hope you get the durability that Cole Kmet brings to the table because he's always available. You know what I mean? And so that's one thing you're letting go of if you decide to move on from Cole Kmet. But those are the two guys in contracts that I'm strongly considering moving on from, because I just know that we can get in the draft and get a Cole Kmet type guy. And I know for a fact that we drafted well at corner, and Jalen Johnson is probably too expensive for us under the circumstances. So those two contracts in particular, I'm really quick to let go of.
Well, I'm 1,000,000,000% against the idea of getting rid of our only Pro Bowl player. So that's where I'm with Jalen Johnson. I'll say that straight up. What's interesting though is because we have now floated the name Cole Kmet, all the same reasons that I said maybe you consider trading a DJ Moore could be applied to Cole Kmet. Ain't no chemistry there at all either.
One more time.
Sure. I said for all the reasons that I said that maybe they would consider trading DJ Moore can be applied to Cole Kmet. There's no chemistry realistically between Cole Kmet and Caleb Williams. That's just as evident as it is with DJ Moore. So one's carrying a much heavier price tag than the other, but the difference being the free agency year is a little bit sooner. This is a 2028 versus a 2030. You know, it's going to be a smaller hit, right? Smaller dead cap. Like, look at this dead cap hit. It's only $5 million. You could trade a Cole Kmet, save a couple of bucks, and apply that to someplace else. Just saying, right? So that's a possibility. D Swift is next. Oh, sorry, we're skipping over the most obvious guy out of them all.
Who?
This guy.
He's not so obvious to me.
I knew you would say that, but he's the most obvious one.
Not to me.
Go ahead. So check this out. Potential out in 2026, 3-year, tiny dead cap of $2.5 million. My guy's on a $57 million contract at this point. I'm going to say, and I think everybody can agree with this statement, I don't think Tremaine Edmonds has lived up to his contract. In the chat, just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Do you think Tremaine Edmonds has lived up to his contract here?
Well, that's not fair. I mean, they're going to tell you one thing, but the truth is, when you don't have like when I can remember when Billings was healthy, and we had something to keep him clean behind him, them and TJ were tearing shit up. Both of them were tearing shit up. And all of a sudden, Billings is out of the picture, and he's not being kept clean back there, and he looks standard as a linebacker. And so I don't think people really consider what's really going on in the game, and really up front is where all the action happens. Whether a linebacker is good or not usually is determined by the players in front of him. And so Tremaine Edmonds, I think, gets a bad rap. He didn't just come over here and all of a sudden get to Chicago and become a bad football player. He was a stud in Buffalo for a reason, because they had a great front. And so all of a sudden, because he comes here and doesn't look as good, I don't think you just see. I think we all become creatures of the moment sometimes, kids. And when you look at the shit in context, the way I'm forced to, you don't see Tremaine Edmonds the same way as it looks like while you're watching a live game.
So I'm going to say a couple of things to this. So I agree with you that Tremaine Edmonds in Buffalo was a beast. He's not been the same beast since he got to Chicago. And I think you can agree with that.
Why would you say that he is?
Now because it's true. Now, if you can say that him not being a beast is due to the front in front of him, I can also agree with that, right? Like that explains a little bit as to why. What the problem is not really with the human being. The problem is with the contract. The problem is with the dollars and cents associated with the human being. So if the person who's making 17 mil is not being effective, should he be making 17 mil? Or can we put a lower caliber player there who makes much less and receive marginally the same type of
a lower amount? If you want to get to another dollar amount with another player, if that's what's, that's what I'm talking about. In the back of your head, then I understand what you're saying. But
that's what I'm talking about.
Player is caliber of player. They wanted a long, rangy, fast linebacker that can get from A to B, and they got it. Look, they didn't have the front to really back them up. We would be having a different conversation if we had a front that produced consistently. Had we not gotten, had Billings not got hurt, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I guarantee you that. And Paul, the reason why they got rid of him in Buffalo is because we offered him a lot more money. Period.
Yeah, that's basically the situation. I kind of want, like, don't get me wrong now. I wanted them to go get him. As soon as we got rid of Roquan, I was like, man, let's go get Tremaine. That's the right guy. He fits the mold. And they went and they got him. I was happy. But I've now seen him in a Bears uniform. I'm not so sure.
It irritates me because we had this same conversation about Roquan. Not us, but I remember these same conversations being had about Roquan, and that shit was unfair. You know, that shit was really unfair. You know, the shit that they was hanging over Roquan's head, given the front that he was after they stripped this roster down and was asking Roquan to be this stud-ass linebacker with nobody in front of him really to keep him clean. Playing in the new, I mean, it was absolutely. But I understand, kids. I
know you're definitely going to be pro player here across the board. This is business now, right? Like I'm talking dollars and cents, and even with a guy like Roquan, I could see it. The problem was he's not the 4-3 mold middle linebacker. He just isn't. He's much more TJ Edwards than he is Tremaine Edmonds. Right, like that's probably a better comparison. That being said, we still have a $17 million cap hit with a guy who's not really doing the job as effectively as like.
I don't think the guy that you can trade because of what he's making, kid. So the exercise we're having, I think, ain't really worth the time because I don't think nobody's going to pay.
Yo, you can cut him, bro.
So you can cut him, and then you're gonna have to eat whatever you got to eat.
You eat. This is what I'm explaining to you, and I'm gonna go back to it one more time. All right. Sorry, Tremaine. I'm sorry now, but here's the numbers, right? So the numbers are you're only eating 3 million, like 2.5 mil.
So you would cut Tremaine Edmonds just to save
2.5 mil to save like 15 mil? Fuck yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Like I hate to say it, but
so let's see where you can trade him. Let's just start there. Let's trade Tremaine Edmonds.
I don't. Well, we can't do that because of the situation that we're in. But you know what I mean. Like this is a viable out in 2026 that the team could definitely afford. They would save a bunch of cash, and they could then apply that cash to a left tackle or defensive or defensive end, and get higher caliber left tackle and defensive end because you've moved that money around. You literally cut Tremaine, and it wouldn't make any difference.
I'm cool with it if you want to go there. I just understand this shit as far as the defense goes because I played in it. It's a little bit more personal to me. It's because I know how you got to operate in it and what needs to be done and what really makes this thing go. And the truth be told, if you ain't got the four that can really get in attack mode and get downhill and get after dudes, the Tremaine's going to look bad. The safeties are going to look bad. The corners are going to look bad. The other linebackers are going to look bad. You got TJ chasing a slot receiver down the field when he shouldn't even have to. That shit's going to look terrible. And so when you don't have the pieces up front, no wonder these motherfuckers behind them don't look so good. You know, it's just bad. And for the dollar amount, I definitely understand and follow and comprehend where you're going. That part I definitely understand. So we don't have to get caught up on it. We can trade it.
All right. So I'm actually going to agree with you further, right? So the additional agreement here is that you can now afford to bolster that line up front, because this is part of the problem with Ryan, right? Ryan built this thing backwards. He went and he paid 17 mil for a middle linebacker and put little to no money on the line. So if his position is beholden to what happens on that line, you already screwed up. So you kind of have to reset somewhere back there, whether it's Jalen or what have you. Like Jalen's the only other guy who's really making money back there. I'm going to have to say I'd rather keep the Pro Bowl corner than the middling middle linebacker. That was a really good word, by the way. Anyway, no, it's actually a word. It means like you're mid. You know what I mean? Like you're half-assing it. It actually worked very well. So moving on.
Let's keep rolling, man. Tremaine, we got Cole, DeAndre Swift, Kevin Byard, I think, is going to definitely get signed. He has overplayed his contract. He's
I just want to look at DeAndre. Okay. Yo.
We gotta start making some choices here.
So, like, same token with DeAndre Swift. I didn't realize DeAndre Swift had a potential out in his contract this year with a 1.5 dead cap.
Mental search taking up your mental real estate.
I'm not
And
sure
how
what's
would you
going on.
describe your collaboration process?
I am so tired.
Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. In any event, I didn't think we could get out of this DeAndre situation. We can't. So if you're not with DeAndre, he is carrying a $9 million cap hit, and we could basically get out of that for 1.5. So he would be another potential player that you could sort of move around and or cut to free up cap space to really get the trenches right. And that's really the conversation we're having here today.
I'm good with that. Let's just roll around. Let's just
Kevin
look at
Byard,
it, and we'll come back to the top. Kevin Byard, TJ Edwards, Gerald Everett, DeMarcus Walker. We'll come back to it. I'm just looking at potential here. Another name, Cairo Santos, is getting paid way too much goddamn money. Let me see. Kyler Gordon, I think we have to extend him. He can't. That dude can't kick a 60-yarder, man. What the hell we got him for?
Yo, we got no out. I never seen
everybody in this league can kick a 60-yarder.
I've never seen a contract quite like this, but we don't. I guess it's just because it's so low wallet share. So I guess you just cut him if you want to cut him. But yeah, Cairo, that kicker situation is super shaky, and my boy plays golf with him all the time. He's got a house out in Florida, and every time he hollers at me, he's like, "Yo, I'm playing golf with Cairo right now," and I'm like, "Tell that dude to learn how to kick a 60-yarder. We'll be best friends. I'll come play golf with y'all." And he refuses to say it to Cairo, but one of these days, Cairo, you got to get that leg, man. You got to go to the gym, get that leg up. Some of the more interesting stuff to pop off here is just the fact that we have to re-sign these three particular players this coming off season, right? So there may be more on this list, but these are the first three to jump up. Kyler Gordon, chat.
Jaquan Brisker, you might as well X that out.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, man.
You don't think they're gonna re-sign him?
It depends on what he's asking. I you know what, his health concerns, bro. It's not like you can just look at it on his face and say, you know what, he's had multiple concussions, but we need to start looking at another, contract for him. You don't know when that's going to be a concern again. I don't. If as much as I love Jaquan Brisker and the way he plays football, and he's like really my spirit creature, the way he plays football. But the truth is, when you're doing a business, when you're operating a business, this is what we're trying to do. You're trying to look at somebody who's going to be dependable for the next couple of years or so. And I don't see that as a dependable football player right now. And so as much as I like him and as much as we love Jaquan Brisker, I don't think that's a contract you should sign. I don't. I got to be the devil in here in this situation. I got to give you the heavy shit. And Jaquan Brisker ain't a guy you want to spend money on, given that situation I just described.
Hate to hear everything you just said, man. Hate to hear that.
So tell me where I got it wrong.
I can't say that now. I don't think you really got anything wrong. For all those reasons, those are reasons you may want to reconsider a Jaquan Brisker. But man, he was a second round draft pick, and you want to keep him as if you can. You want to keep him and re-sign him to a low wallet share, team friendly, if at all possible.
I love me some Jaquan Brisker.
He's amazing.
Love me some Jaquan Brisker. But if I'm doing it, if I'm separating my emotions and feelings from it, I have to make a business decision, and that's not a bright business decision to sign him to another contract.
Well, look, you're saying all levels of good stuff here that I have to agree with. This is where, again, low wallet share, team friendly. I would extend him in some capacity, because just looking at where we are, they're projecting like $3 million, which is okay. You know what I mean? Like, you're not breaking the bank for his impact on the field. You're not breaking the bank. I would actually guarantee this $3 million and give him a 1 year. Maybe, yeah, I give him a 1 year guaranteed just to see if he can make it through. If he can make it through, then we figure out a way to extend him the following year. But right now, it's questionable as to whether he's even going to play at all. So
You got to understand, Jaquan Brisker is going to sign that contract and expect to be the starter. So,
well, would you not start him?
Well, no.
You wouldn't start Jaquan Brisker. If he can play, you wouldn't start him?
Number one, I'm not going to sign him. But if somebody signed him, he's going to have to challenge for a spot. So if I go in the draft and we do the mock draft, hopefully Wednesday, you guys, on some extra sauce, we'll go forward with that. We'll carry on from this show and take it into some extra sauce and do a mock draft. And my goal is to get a Lathan Ransom from Ohio State. You know, if he can beat out Lathan Ransom, then you start. Other than that, then you're going to be a backup player and you're going to be on a prove it contract per your situation. But I'm drafting a safety to have him start. Just like Jaquan was drafted to start.
So my problem with this is the obvious problem, right? The problem with this is that
we just got to get to the end of the list, kid, so we can start cutting some guys.
Well, like I'm there's no, but like I don't know if we can really go through the whole cut thing, right? It's just you know,
we can cut some guys.
We haven't even talked about Kyler or Braxton.
We get to that, but we need to cut some guys first. Like we know for a fact, like right here at the bottom, John Jackson ain't gonna make the roster.
Oh, these guys are just yeah, but these guys are practice squad bodies. They're cutting them and keeping them. They ain't gonna really save any money. So let's go right back up to the top.
We probably should start at the bottom with Austin Booker. I think that's where it really gets interesting, right at Austin Booker. You go up a little bit. He's right above Terrell Smith, right under. So we start there. We know we're going to keep both those two guys, right? Noah Sewell, that's a question.
Okay, so we actually got to go back to the top and start at the top. These guys here just aren't making enough money that they're worth cutting. You know what I'm saying? These guys are straight up on rookie deals and practice squad deals. It makes no difference. John Jackson is quite literally here just to get a couple of bucks.
Okay. All right, let's go to the top there.
You know what I mean? We got to go back up top. If we're talking about cutting folks, I think the guys, you know, we're talking about Tremaine. I think Tremaine's public enemy number one. That's my thoughts there. You have an out in 2026. Let's cut this man and see what happens. Savings of $12 million. Like, that's crazy. Close. Like, those are crazy numbers. Right. So this is a guy that you probably could cut that would just make sense. Now you've got an additional $12 million to go and put down on a very viable player. That's worth the cut. You know?
Let's just go ahead and cut him.
Well, that's as far as the cut, the little cut idea goes. It'll just sort of show you what you would actually be saving. It's not like well, you know, the other site doesn't. It's not quite as thorough as that. Who else did we talk about? We talked about DJ Moore potential, and this is how much it's going to hurt us. We're going to go through that exercise real quick. Oops. 2027. So if we cut him in 2025, yeah, it costs us twice as much to cut a DJ Moore than it does. Sorry, to trade a DJ Moore than we would save.
So DJ is not even in the conversation when it comes to cutting.
Not cutting, not trading either.
Okay, so we don't need to talk about DJ right now.
You know, so neither one of those guys really makes sense. We'll take a look at Montez. Come on. It's a damn flaky.
Also not in the conversation for cutting.
He won't be in. It's literally a break even. If we trade him.
At apartments.com, every time a new listing is added.
If we trade
let's just not waste time on guys that we're not going to cut. That's what we're talking about, cutting guys.
Well, there's really not a lot. My simple point is there's just not a lot
Gerald Everett you can cut.
Yeah. Let's look at Gerald Everett. He's definitely a cuttable commodity this year. 2025 cut. We would save $4 million, either cut or trade. Now,
Rental search taking up your mental real estate.
damn, they really bought it with these commercials.
Them ads, boy.
They're crazy.
And so so without doing anything, we're sitting at somewhere around 68, 69 million in cap space, right?
69 right now.
All right. And so the projected cuts that people seem to think are going to happen, likely are going to happen, and it would get us to somewhere in the 80 million, $82 million range, right?
That's about where this would leave us, yes.
And so where those cuts would come from, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a Gerald Everett of the world, maybe a Tremaine Edmonds of the world. As much as I'm putting up a fuss and a fight about him, I just don't like to see him get dragged for, and not really be understood of the context of why he didn't look as good as you thought he would. And he didn't look like the money that we paid, but I know why. That's all I'm trying to say. But Tremaine Edmonds could be one of those guys that get cut. So you're talking about Everett, Tremaine Edmonds. What kind of dollars do they add up to as a collective?
So as a collective, those two players work out to about $16 million in additional capital.
So $16 million, that's probably where that's probably how people are getting to that number, right? Close to it.
Yeah. That, and I'll give the obvious. These practice squad players are probably not necessarily going to make this team. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. What a moron. Maybe 3. Somehow he re-signed Ian Wheeler and let Reddy Stewart go. What a guy. This guy. Anyways, I
don't see, like, I got to put some context to that too. Maybe something happened with Reddy Stewart that we don't know about, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But it's a lot of things that go on inside of a locker room and dynamics between player and coaches and all that kind of shit that we just don't know about. I'm not gonna call Ryan Poles a dummy. It could be some shit that Reddy did, and he was just like,
you leave that all up to me.
All right, I'm just leave it to you then. But Minister Charles says after expected cuts, we have about 96 million.
Yeah, I can probably agree with that if we're talking about a Tremaine Edmonds, maybe a DeAndre Swift, and maybe a Gerald Everett. You could factor right up to about 96, right?
So yeah, you cut all three of those guys. So this app doesn't allow you to do all that, does it?
It doesn't, not the way that we usually do it. So chat, we'll run through the full
right.
down the road, but for today, this is kind of how it has to be. We can round out to about 96 and change, but I think the moral of the exercise to be understood is that some of the folks we've become accustomed to, and some of us may really pull for, might not be here in 2025. So,
Bare truth, now I don't think Bates is one of those guys you would want to cut. And if he wants to get out of here by any means necessary, then you have to cut him. But right now, I think we're locked into him. And you cut him and you're gonna lose, and you get $4 million, but what do you lose?
I can tell you. So 2023, 2024, we cut him in 2025. So
I think when healthy,
it's kind of a wash. So it's a $4 million upswing for us. The fact is, we caught this contract. Remember, if you guys remember, we made an offer. Buffalo matched it. Then a year later, traded him to us. Sorry, 2 years later. 2 years later. So that's kind of how that worked. We're on the original contract that Ryan Poles wanted to pay anyways. So at this point, it's a question of, does Ryan Poles really like Ryan Bates, or is Ryan Bates really hurt and will be hurt for the foreseeable future? Those are really the two questions. If we're talking about, does Ryan Poles really like this guy? Clearly loves this guy. Not sure what the big deal is there. Clearly loves him. So that makes me think that he's probably not going to get rid of him. The other major question is, again, is he going to be hurt for the upcoming season? If so, we save $4 million, we move on. We have to fill up, another position.
Can I speak on Ryan Bates? Because I did study him. When we were supposed to get him the first time, I started studying, and I continued to look at him even after. And when we finally got him, I was like, hell yeah, Ryan Poles. But then he got here. Little did I know that he had some kind of tendonitis going on with his arm or elbow, shoulder, or something going on that I didn't know about. Now, when healthy, when he can go, Ryan Bates is an absolute upgrade to our offensive line. And I know why Ryan Poles went and got him. Because what he was in Buffalo was an absolute stud. And what he was in Chicago, given the situation, I know people are bitter about it. But give that guy an off season. I don't know, where Ryan Poles' heart is at with Ryan Bates if he wants to keep him, but I can see why he would. You know what I mean? Because you are definitely weak in that room the minute you take him out of there, unless you can trade for or draft a guy that's comparable to him.
So having this conversation opens up the conversation for somebody else that we haven't had. Where are you, Tevin Jenkins? I think he's probably on the free agency list. And that's the problem, right? So we haven't made a solid overture to Tevin Jenkins or attempted to re-sign him in any capacity, which really means he's likely walking right into free agency and walking into somebody else's roster.
I think they plan on lowballing him.
Well, I would have to agree with that, but I would have done it in season. I would have done it after the second injury to Tevin, right? Like that's just how I would have GM'd. But he's a free agent, and if that's the case, we really can't even talk. Like so Tevin is leaving. He's probably our best lineman outside of Darnell Wright. Nate Davis is useless as an ashtray on a motorcycle, and he's gone.
So let's get a run in total on the guys that you want to cut. Tremaine Edmonds, DeAndre Swift. It was Tremaine, DeAndre for sure that we can agree on. Tremaine, DeAndre. And you're talking about maybe Ryan Bates, right?
Maybe.
Let's total that up.
Maybe Cole Kmet.
You can't cut Cole Kmet.
Why?
You don't want to cut Cole Kmet. He's got trade value. You don't ever want to cut him. No. You don't ever want to cut him. He's definitely got trade value. Travis Kelce is getting long in the tooth. He's got trade value, bro. Cutting him is just ridiculous. I think just to be honest with you.
So
Just to get you a certain dollar amount, I don't think you cut a Cole Kmet. But I don't know. I'm not Ryan Poles. I don't think he would go to that extreme, but it's possible. I'm not gonna say it's outside of the realm of possibility.
I'm just like, you say he has trade value, and I'm gonna ask you, like, what's that? Because if you look at his numbers this year versus last year, they're abysmal.
Listen,
when you go to negotiate a trade with somebody and they show you his stats,
listen
I don't know what the value looks like.
People know how they'll look and see through that. They know that Cole was asked to be an inline blocker because we had a porous offensive line, and so his numbers was gonna, basically his value is gonna depreciate because of that. And so by your way of thinking, Cole Kmet ain't worth shit but a cut. But listen to Money Mitch.
No, I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm saying now, and you said it. You articulated it yourself. So if you cut him, you make $2 million a bit. If you trade him, obviously you're going to get more for it. Maybe capital in that case, which is a great idea. Like I'm with trading him too in this scenario, but you're going to have the conversation with the other side that you just had, and the word depreciated value came flying out. So you're going to take a hit in that negotiation. You have to respect the fact that his value is depreciated.
But you get something.
You might. You're right. And maybe it's more than the $2 million that you're saving. You know what I mean? Maybe it's more valuable in that case. So I do agree with you. A trade is probably more. It would probably be preferable for Cole Kmet, and then that leaves you with the other guy that we kind of zeroed in on, and that would be Gerald Everett.
I think Paul Rodriguez is making a hell of a point too. I got to read it. He said we also got to keep in mind it's a two-way street. Players got to want to play in Chicago. If not, you end up overpaying. If we're honest, Bears don't win enough to be a destination team. That is so true when it comes to the free agent market and being able to woo guys to your team, top tier guys to your team. That's a hell of a conversation. That's a hell of a conversation that I've been saying for quite some time, kids, and you know that. I've been saying that like Chicago isn't the most attractive destination given what we just saw this season. I would say this season, it was a very attractive place to come. And what we just showed on the field this entire season, Chicago is probably in the lower rung of the teams that would be attractive in free agency. When I say lower rung, I mean at the dip ass bottom. I mean, that's real. And we need to own that as fans and know that and understand that we might not be able to attract certain guys. And that's the situation we put ourselves in.
Let me add 2 more layers to that too. Layer number 1. I'm Canadian. I got to listen to this guy talk about the weather in Chicago and how bad it is. Weather's always worse where I'm at. I'm just letting you know. So to agree and make it worse, it's cold out there. That's not attractive to free agents. There's also a fair amount of tax, from what I understand, in Illinois too. These are 2 factors that, when you look at a Jacksonville as a for instance, and there's no tax and you got sunny weather, dumpster fire versus dumpster fire, Las Vegas, tax, no tax, sunny weather, dumpster fire versus dumpster fire, you might want to go to those other 2 places. So, the losing doesn't help, right? When you then stack on the weather and the taxation, it's a little. I can understand why players might not want to come here at all, right? It's crazy, but you have to sort of look at that as additional bear tax, right? So it's tough, and I don't really suggest, to be frank, I don't like the idea of cutting half of these guys because I thought we were moving in an upward trajectory. Like, Ryan still has a fair amount of cap space that he can save and make that he has saved and can make some maneuvers, but I'm not so sure he has the actual capital by way of draft picks to do what he's going to need to do over the course of the next few years.
Here's one other thing I want to mention about when we're on the offensive side of the ball, talking about running backs, tight ends, and guys like that, receivers and shit. One of the guys like DeAndre Swift. Listen, I can 100% see whoever comes in here as the coach, whether it's McCarthy, whoever it is, will look at the roster and see DeAndre Swift on here and be like, oh, hell no, we ain't getting rid of him. Hell no. What we'll do is make sure that he's not the number one back and play him as what he really should be is a you know, you need a 1-2 punch combination in this league. You got your bell cow back and you got your back that can really get it, you know, in situations. He's a situational running back, in my opinion. And so I would see that piece as an asset. I didn't say that earlier because I wanted to just keep the shit going, but DeAndre Swift, I can definitely see whoever the next coach that comes in here that looks at this roster and says, we can keep him. How much is he getting paid? We'll keep him. We'll definitely keep him, and we'll draft a running back, and we'll get it popping up in here and get this line going. And I can see that, you know what I mean? But while we're doing this exercise, just to go along with the flow, I hear you, bro. But I can definitely see that cat not going nowhere.
Look, it's a dollars and cents that he commanded versus what he's done on the field. I think we can do better. That's me talking now. You know what I mean? That's me talking. I can understand why they would want to keep him too, because you're 100% right in what you're saying. And that's part of my problem this year is just sort of that, speaking of which, that means we should look at his partner in crime too. Where's Roschon Johnson? There you are.
I just don't know a coach that would come in here and say, oh, we got DeAndre Swift on the roster. We don't need him. No, it's probably going to be exactly opposite of that. Like, I've been liking him for a long time. I'm glad we got him. Now let's just draft it back and let's just play him the way we need to be playing him and make him more effective.
So you're like, and you're bang on. So the way that I look at DeAndre Swift is sort of like an Antonio Gibson. There's a couple other backs like that in the game that are really good at what they do, and they're good pass catching backs as well. But he should really be in a running back by committee situation. And the way that I looked at this roster initially, I kind of thought that's what they were going to do. I thought they were going to sort of let Khalil Herbert and DeAndre sort of battle it out and have Roschon as well, and sort of utilize the three of them as a running back by committee situation. And then that just never played out. They just sat Khalil for like 6 weeks, and then traded him. He never really got any run or the ability to run. What they really need is to find two more backs out there to really build up and sort of backfill that which this guy's not necessarily super good at. Not really super good at north-south running. And I got to say, as much as we'd like to think that Roschon Johnson is, he's not either. He's not very good at north-south running. He just runs into people, and they don't move.
He's one of the first guys I'm going to cut.
Roschon Johnson?
Yeah. I love Roschon Johnson. Don't get me wrong. I love the kid. I think he's an awesome kid and awesome. I just don't think he's what we need. And I would just say that, and I have to acknowledge that what I seen on film is what I seen on film, and he doesn't bring anything to the table that's going to be like, okay, we got to make sure we keep this kid. No, not whatsoever.
I agree with everything you said except for the cut, and the reason I don't agree with the cut is that it just doesn't benefit us to cut him or trade him.
Where are you going to trade him to?
You know what I mean? But it's not just where you're going to trade him to. It's what do you get out of doing it?
Wait a minute. You would trade you would cut Cole Kmet, but you wouldn't cut Roschon Johnson.
So let me explain to you where the reason why I'm saying it. The reason why I'm saying it is it's only it's a $400,000 situation. So it's probably more beneficial that we have somebody as a backup running back in that scenario than not having. He's still on his rookie deal. That's what I'm saying. It's just not beneficial. Like, we're cutting him for the sake of cutting him. Might as well just keep him. You know what I mean? Like, I agree with what you're saying.
Occupies a roster spot.
He does.
And we can upgrade just because
you're right.
He's a safe piece to keep. No. There's so many other running backs that can bring more dynamic.
You're right. You're right. And if they bring somebody else in, if it, even Ian Wheeler, who I just seen his name pop up in the chat here. I know he's been brought back. Even an Ian Wheeler, in my opinion, would be more dynamic and probably wouldn't cost as much as a Roshan Johnson. So it's really a question of who is the better guy on the field when it comes down to the 53. But I wouldn't cut him for the sake of cutting him. I would cut him for the sake of, we upgraded. There's somebody better than you on the field. Wouldn't be for money. You know what I mean?
I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think we're going to draft, in my opinion, in my mock drafts, and I got a couple of them. I would put it on here, but I want to save that. But in my mock draft, I drafted 2 running backs. I traded in all honesty, people, and I'm gonna be upfront and honest. Where are we, 9 or 10? Which one of those picks? I think we got the 10th pick, right? Yeah. And I believe 110% we're not good enough to keep that 10th pick. And I don't think there's a player on the board at 10 that I think would be at 10, not even at 1 under the circumstances that we have in Chicago that you can afford to draft at 10. I think you definitely get you a couple more pieces at 10 and just be sure about what your scouts did and what you did. Make sure that what your eyes saw on film is exactly what your eyes saw on film and draft the right players because they're there.
So you're saying trade back
first round, beginning of the second round, mid-second round, early third round.
Uh-oh. Did I lose you, Doc? Yeah. Just letting y'all know you've been having internet issues all day long. So we may have lost the Nomad. But I think what he's trying to say is we cut him, which is kind of interesting to hear, man. It's kind of interesting, but I don't know. All I know is they got to fix up this offensive line. That's really where we're at. I wouldn't. You see, Minister Charles, I wouldn't be drafting 2 running backs. We don't have that capital, but I think we probably do need to trade. Like, if I'm Ryan Poles, I trade back out of 10. I get at least, get a first that's further back as well as maybe a second round pick. That's sort of my thoughts there. We don't have the capital to draft 2 running backs. That's crazy. He also talked about drafting a safety there. We don't have that kind of capital. I'm just saying we don't have capital for a safety and 2 running backs. We have to focus on the trenches. If you can score 1 running back, I'll be impressed. It really has to be either later in the draft, 4th, we don't have a 4th round pick, 5th round pick running back, or you pick the best running back in the game. Those are the only 2 options if you're talking about a running back. Me personally, I would be looking at free agency for running backs. There's tons of them. You can pay them regular money and get away with it to sort of build around DeAndre Swift. I would think about guys like Austin Eckler, Cam Akers, guys like that. Maybe even again and AJ Dillon, like I was saying earlier on, as a bell cow north-south back. Because that's really what we were missing this season. We couldn't get 1 yard. If we're challenged to get 1 yard this season, it was probably going the other direction. It was probably going the other way. So Zach saying we got picks number 10, 39, 41, 72. There's a couple more in the 6th, I believe. I think we got 2 picks in the 6th round outside of these ones. But this is basically what we're looking at here. 39 and 40 might as well be first-round picks. We can get some very solid help with those 2 picks. Number 72, in my estimation, what I'm just saying, that one could be a running back. But for all intents and purposes, this number 10 pick, I wouldn't do Najee Harris. Minister Charles, you like Najee? I just don't. I just don't think he when the back behind you just outshines you, and I think Jaylen Warren was like an undrafted free agent. You know what I mean? Jaylen Warren's killing it over there in Pittsburgh in comparison, right? So Najee Harris wouldn't be the guy that I'd go looking for personally. He just wouldn't be, again, drafted where he was drafted. I wouldn't be looking, just not the guy I'd be looking for. But maybe as a cheaper replacement for DeAndre Swift, perhaps. But that's if we cut him or trade him off.
All right, I'm back, but I think that's a signal that we probably need to put a pin in this and pick this back up on some extra sauce, and we'll have a brief conversation about what to do here, and we'll go into the mock draft with some assumptions that we got some stuff done. You know what I mean? And I think that's the best thing to do. And I apologize to you guys, but my internet has been shoddy for about 3, 4, 5 days now, and I don't want to let you guys down and have me drop out on the show and have Kedz be here by herself. That's not fair. And so
I'm just getting into a groove, to be honest with you.
I appreciate it, man. I know how you are, man.
Flow, man.
I know you can flow, man. I know you can flow, bro. You got
just flowing with these folks in the chat, man. Minister Charles suggesting we get Najee Harris. AC Adams says he wants Najee Harris and Swift, though. I can't. I don't know, man. I can't co-sign the Najee Harris thing. I was just saying, but I do agree. Something in free agency needs to be done alongside this running back position. At least we need at least one more running back. Maybe we stick with Ian Wheeler, but I would also like to see them address the. I wish we addressed it this past offseason, because the guy I thought they would have targeted would have been Bucky Irving. He was the guy I was yelling for all offseason, and then we get to see him out there do the darn thing, and he's a great back. He's from Chicago. Anyways, revisionist history. But if they can find themselves a back a little bit later in the draft, I'm with it. I think we really need a running back that they can groom into being a bell cow. And maybe that guy is Ian Wheeler. He looked great in preseason until he got hurt.
Yeah, we got a bunch to talk about, man. Because and Minister Charles thinks that
who that Minister Charles? Who's Jess? Who that?
I don't know what Minister Charles talking about.
Me
with
neither.
Your nasty ass, Minister Charles.
Ask your people in Jamaica what's up with Farmer Girl Jess. I don't know who Jess is. Who's Jess? Who that? That's what we would say.
All I know is I better we got to wrap this thing up, but I can't get out of here without doing this, man. Hold on. Let me give me a second. Let me get down here, because I don't know if Don's still in here, but I got to.
Don's here.
I got to remind him, man, what I saw when I was on the train, man. I didn't believe what I was seeing. I was just like, holy shit, this is the same person I saw before the game and after. I was like, God damn. If y'all fans look anything like this on a regular, on just as an average, God damn, bro, I don't know what the fuck going on, but damn, Don, I just holy shit.
Something in that water, man. It's that water. My guy, Don, I know you're talking smack about the Bears draft pick by way of QB, and that's what I would do if I were you as well. Either way, we got a long ways to go. Kid needs to grow, and he will. He'll get there. It's just a matter of putting the right stuff around him. And that's where, you actually said something that I had to agree with earlier on, and it was like, how is Ryan Post still here? I don't know. But at this point, we have to give him the benefit of the doubt and the ability to try to correct his wrongs. And there's a bunch of those wrongs that hopefully he starts to look at, like get the kid a mentor, get him protection. So if he can do those two things, I'm at least slightly with what's going on. I don't think we can afford to go into 2025 without a mentor for Caleb Williams. I'll just say that out loud. It's not an ego thing. Everybody's like, if there's another quarterback here, maybe he wouldn't be. I don't care. I don't care how he feels about it. He needs to have somebody else that he can ask questions and have his questions answered by, right? Hey, what do I do in this situation? She has an Only Farms page.
Only.
Wow. I don't even know what to say, man. There's bestiality jokes, but I'm gonna leave all of them. I'll leave all of them to you, Minister Charles.
Damn,
wow. Jeez.
Sometimes I think people go and view stuff like that just to it's like somebody want to watch a train crash all the goddamn time. Like, I don't want to see that kind of horror. What the fuck I want to be looking at? But that's, to each his own, there's people out there, I think that individual actually has a husband and shit like that. And we making fun of people's husbands. I mean,
Real
talk. That's crazy, man.
A good minister, bro. On Monday nights, check him out. Minister Charles Johnson. He's got his own show, y'all. Y'all gonna love it. I'm just saying. Anyways, man. I hope Ryan Poles can figure this whole thing out. And I guess it all starts with that head coach. A lot of the conversation today has sort of been in and around Ben Johnson and then potentially Mike McCarthy. I do have to say, if he's bringing his squad from the Cowboys, it would work. Like they kind of run a similar defense, right? It would kind of work here. Wouldn't be crazy, right?
Yeah. It. All I know is I'm trying to speed this up because I don't want to lose connection again and have you hanging. And I just appreciate everybody that came here tonight. But let me give it to the Canuck for some pleasantries before I wrap it up and close this show out, because I want you guys to remember we'll be doing, hopefully FFG is still in the chat, we'll be doing a live watch show tomorrow for the college game for the championship between Ohio State and Notre Dame. A lot of players on there that we've watched before, but it's going to be interesting to see them and how they play in the big game. So we're going to look out for that. I don't know exactly what time. We'll be on an hour and a half hour before the show, but be looking out for that thumbnail to come out tonight or early sometime tomorrow. But we'll be doing that show tomorrow. But go ahead, give out some pleasantries, bro.
All right, y'all. Hey, man. Yeah. So we went around the horn, talked about some good stuff. We will do this again. We'll pick this up again. We'll sort of continue things on Extra Sauce, but down the road, once the season is through, we should get a bit of a boost in functionality, and we can run through franchise mode the way we always do about this time. So we'll give it a good franchise mode go down the road, and really take it through some of those cuts that will happen once the season's over, and where we can move forward as a team and as an organization and what to expect. But this was sort of a teaser episode for some of that, because we're on our way. Season's almost over. We've got the Buffalo Bills versus the Kansas City Chiefs coming through. We've got Philadelphia versus the Washington Commanders coming through. Should be a good weekend of some really good football. And I was saying to Nomad, man, I almost forgot what good football looked like, man. It's been 2 solid years since I've seen it. But these last couple of weeks have been pretty decent. I hope you guys have been enjoying your football. That being said, let me give you guys a little bit of love so we can get the hell out of here. Mr. Mayhem, shout out to you. Shout out to the good minister, Charles Johnson, as well as Jess and her OnlyFarms page. Shout out to Paul Rodriguez, my guy, Just B. What it do, Just B? Good to see you, man. Molly Mal, good to see you, dog. Mick Fact, or the MC of Facts. Always awesome to have you out there. Paul Rodriguez doing the darn thing. Daryl Gibson, shout out to you, Daryl. Always with us. Rock Davis, keeping it rocking. Who else we got out there, man? Mick Foley. That mandible claw. No love for Don Burr. No love for the Detroit Lions. It's a sad, sad day in Detroit, but I ain't sad. Oh, man. AC Adams, shout out to you, brother. Cornelius Squalls, number 2, No Maniac. My guy, what it do? Shout out to Zach. Big up to you, man. Bear Truth 9. BT9 was with us today, man. Mitch Osborne's out there. Always love to you, Mitch. Thanks for supporting the network the way that you do. Who else we got out there? Who am I missing? Ant Moss. Our guy, Ant Moss, doing it up in the chat. Black Rain, Black Diamond, both y'all was out there. Shout out to both of you. The big homie, Jeremy Munoz. What up, Jeremy? And Paul Rodriguez. What it do? Who else we got, man? Let me see. And I'm just whipping through them here today, man. A lot of folks out there. The chat was popping for the better part of the show. 10 Bears was with us for a whole few hours here, man. Thanks for chopping it up with us, 10 Bears. Always good to see you in the chat, man. You know what
Shout
it is.
out to Don, man, for coming in here and manning it up, man. I appreciate you, Don.
He knows what it is. He knows when I give Don no love, it's real love because
man
Don
came in here and checked it. He caught it on the chin and took
it in the
I appreciate that. I appreciate that about Don, straight up.
You know what, Don? Last year you disappeared. We were worried. We thought you were hurting out there on 8 Mile, but this year you came in and said, you know what? To hell with these Bears fans. Y'all picked the wrong quarterback. That's what he was saying. Do I agree with it? No. But hey, man, gotta give you a little bit of love for at least having the nuts to represent it. Brandon Lawson, shout out to you, man. What's going on? Good to have you. Make sure all of you guys like, share, and subscribe, and very much do the same. Search for Kedz the Canuck. I'm going to start multi-streaming these shows over to my Kedz the Canuck site. That's right here on YouTube. By all means, like, share, and subscribe to that as well. Our guy, Joey Vizzo. Always awesome to have you. Mo Fugger was out there with us. Big Bob Frail. What's popping, Rob? We've also got Kenny. Kenny's with us, too. Oh, who's this? Marifa Assad. What's going on, Marifa? Good to have you. Laz was with us today, too. What are you saying, Nomad?
Marifa Assad has been here several times. I wish he'd come more often, so shout out to you, bro. I mean, come on more often, man. We love to see you in the chat.
Absolutely. Victor Dragon was out there. Our homie, the G. He was with us for quite some time tonight, keeping it popping in the chat. Leo Factor's out there doing the darn thing. As per normal, always good to have you, Leo. Oh, the big homie, Cliff Victoria. No food today, Cliff. No food. Armando. Oh, I missed Junior, man. I miss Junior. Shout out to Junior. Shout out to Patty. Shout out to Slick Sophistication as well. Thanks for coming through, Slick. Always good to have you, my dude. Oh man, Junior was all over the chat, man. I missed Junior. I didn't even see him as we were doing our thing. Omar 86.
When I'm closing, make sure you link your channel in the chat. So.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, let me throw that in there before we shut it down. Pipeline J, what it do, Pipeline? Thanks for coming through and keeping it real. Brandon Morgan as well. Oh, Jason Toy with the $5 super chat. Thanks, Jason. We appreciate it. Thanks for supporting the network. Juggy Nuggies out there doing the darn thing. Bears Junkie 23 Hall of Fame. What's popping, Bears Junkie? Always good to have you, my dude. I think we're running into retreads now. But hey, man, look, thanks for coming through, all you guys. Always good to have you. Thanks for representing and thanks for supporting the network as per normal. And let me throw it over to the good man to my right so he can shut it all down. Go for it, brother.
Hey, shout out to Daryl Gibson and everybody in the chat. And I'm just going to speak on Daryl's comment right here because I do see things. And I'm going to just read it off. Daryl Gibson says, fans know a really good podcast when they hear it. It's especially y'all draft and free agency programs. You are already being copied. He ain't lying. He ain't lying.
Yeah, there's a few copies out there. You're right.
Yeah, he is not lying. That's one of the things I used to tell Chris all the time when he was here. And shout out to Chris, man. I miss that brother dearly. And Kedz and I just happened to be looking for information and had to go back to some old podcasts to find information that Chris had. And to be able to do this show that we did tonight, we had to go back and look at old stuff, basically. And we just happened to hear Chris's voice, and that was just really, really nice to hear Chris, man. It really was. And I miss that dude dearly. I know I'm not the only one. I really miss that guy, man.
Me too, man.
To Daryl's point, man, I know people copy what we do. Not only the artwork we use for our thumbnails, the stuff that we do, how we do it on our podcast. I'm seeing a whole bunch of copycats, but nobody's going to don't ever expect nobody to admit what they do. People copy what we do all the fucking time. All the fucking time. And I see it everywhere. And they be acting like, oh, nobody watches their stuff. You motherfuckers, you same motherfuckers be copying our shit and trying to follow what we do. Eventually, everybody will be watching what we're doing. Everybody will be watching what we're doing. We're gonna set the tone as far as how we do podcasts, how we do thumbnails, and all this different kinds of stuff that we do for these podcasts. We'll set the tone there. Everybody will follow what we do. You know what I mean? I don't follow anybody, and I know we don't over here at all. And so I just wanted to appreciate Daryl's comment because Don't think I don't notice it either, Daryl. Don't think I don't notice it. We do.
That's how you know when you're doing it right.
Yep. And so I appreciate you guys one more time, but I do need to get up out of here. We need to get up out of here before my internet crashes. Please make sure you hit the like button. And if you're watching or listening to the show and you're not subscribed to the show, do us a favor and hit that button. That is so free and painless. I don't understand why more people don't do that. I do it all the time when I go to other people's shows. It doesn't cost me nothing. If I find out somebody's a awful person or some group of people that's doing the podcast and they're awful people and I shouldn't be supporting them, I'd go in right on in there and unsubscribe to their channel and won't like any more of their content. In fact, I won't even watch that shit. But that's all I need to know to find out whether or not I'm supporting somebody or they're worth me supporting. Just see what kind of people they are. You know what I mean? There's some really good people over here on this channel. And I know for one that we've earned any kind of like and subscribes and any kind of memberships that we've gotten. I know we've earned them. We may not have given back in return everything that we can, but we're working on that too. All you members that keep your memberships, we love you guys, man. We absolutely love you guys. We love you guys.
John, that window closing.
Oh yeah. Y'all, this was y'all's year, and we could talk about that on another show. But again, I appreciate you guys one more time. But before we get out of here, I got to leave you guys with these famous words. And don't forget to hit the like button on the way out, you guys, and leave a comment in the comment section about anything we talked about tonight. Let us know what the hell you was thinking about. If we said some stuff that you totally disagree with and you didn't get a chance to get your voice heard, get in the comment section, cuss me or Kedz out. It don't matter. Just say something to us, man. But holler at us in the comment section after the show. But with that being said, I want to leave you guys with these famous words. If you can think it, people, and you can see it, there's no reason in the world why you cannot absolutely manifest it. Don't be a prisoner of your mind. But that being said, we are